What's up, Jay?
Good to see you. Yeah, you all right?
Sure.
Good brother.
How you doing?
What's
man?
up,
Good
man?
to
How
see
you doing, man?
Congrats on the Emmy, no?
Man, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Brother? Good to see you,
How
baby.
you doing?
Yes,
So
sir.
good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
It was last year in Cannes. Alicia made me run up on you to get your autograph. I was the sacrificial lamb. You know, she had been walking around for 3 years with the black monk. But she wanted to meet somebody that had actually been at a monastery and not just me pretending to be.
Told you he calls himself the Black Monk.
I know,
right?
but he calls himself that. Like no one actually, it's a self-imposed title.
Jay, if you don't believe it, who else will?
Very well said.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Muhammad Ali to us.
Hey, Shaddy, man, welcome to The Pivot. This is Fred Taylor. This is Channing Crowder. I'm Ryan Clark, Pivot fan. Thank you for pivoting with us. This is an exciting show today. We have best-selling author, motivational speaker, and big-time podcaster, Jay Shetty, who's out on, let y'all know now, out on his all-purpose live tour right now. Speaking of that, man, I think it's so cool, Jay, when you show the pictures of how it started to how it's going. And I actually counted the people in one of the pictures. It was only 12. To be in the position that you're in now, when you started out on this journey, how could you ever have imagined that it would end up where you are now touring the country, touring the world in some senses, and people pile into arenas to see you?
I don't think you could ever imagine it. And that's what's beautiful about it. I think the challenge today is everyone has too much pressure. Every video has to have 1 million views. Everything you post has to get lots of engagement. Everything you share has to get lots of attention. When I started giving my first talks, I was in a room like the size of the corner of this room. And the first time I went to speak, 0 people showed up. So I just practiced to the 4 walls. And the second time I showed up, no one showed up. And so I practiced to the 4 walls. And the third time I realized I had to fire the person who was putting the flyers out because they obviously weren't doing a good job. But for years, nearly 10 years before I posted a video, I was speaking to groups of small rooms. I was speaking to groups of 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. And I'll be honest with you, I never ever felt, why is it only 10 people? I never ever felt, oh, it's only 20 people today. I would have loved it to be 50 or 100, don't get me wrong. But I never thought it needed to be more than that. I was just happy that anyone would take time out of their day to come and hear about things that were meant to be good for them. But, you know, it wasn't, hey, here's how to do this, or here's how to get rich, or here's how to improve your life. And so for me, those years of spending hours and hours and hours with people, roughly 10 years later when I post my first video and I start to have the groundswell experience of more people finding out about my work, I live in gratitude every day. I post those to show people that no one starts in an arena. Everyone starts at 0. And the reason why we don't start is not because we're scared of starting at 0, we're scared of people watching us start at 0. We're scared of the opinions of people around us starting at 0. We're not scared of starting from scratch, we're scared of our friends seeing us start from scratch. And I just want to remind people that everyone started at 0. You did, you did, you did, and everyone on planet Earth did. And that means you can do it as much as I have.
Yeah. Hey, Chan, by the way, I just want to say this. This is the first time Fred's voice has been out sexied on our show.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are something else.
That London is sexy now. I can see it. I wanted to ask you about motivational speaking and spiritual advisors. What about on the other side? Why do people need them? I'm not a pessimist, but I'm a person that thinks about it. Like, I don't talk to anybody. Like, this is probably my therapy, us doing this.
Yeah.
What about on the other side? Why do people need you to get them going? Like, bro, tighten up.
You know what's really interesting is when you're doing it, you don't think that's what you're doing. So when I first started learning from the monks, I was just trying to share what they were teaching me because I thought it was valuable. It's almost like if someone told you, hey, there's this really cool thing, there's this cool spot, there's this great movie, there's this great song, there's this great rapper, there's this great artist. If someone introduced you to that, you'd start talking about it because it was cool. And so for me, wisdom was cool. And so I was just sharing it because it changed my life and had an impact on me and I thought it would help other people. So from my side, you don't even see yourself that way. You just see yourself as a spiritual dealer because you're just sharing what's helping you and you want it to help other people. So from my side, I don't look at myself as that. I think for people, what happens is we're all looking for people who represent what we're chasing, who represent what we're pursuing, who represent what we admire. And I think the thing is, everyone needs someone or something to believe in. Now, I don't want people to believe in me. I want them to believe in the wisdom. So that's my responsibility to make it very clear. I don't want you to believe in me. I'm flawed. I'm human. I have weaknesses. But the wisdom has lasted for 5,000 years. There's nothing in the world that has lasted, apart from the world, the planet, for 5,000 years. I remember talking about the Bhagavad Gita, which is the book that I reference a lot in my books. I was speaking about it with a guy that I'd met, and he was big in business. And he said to me after the interview, this was years ago, he said to me, he goes, how long did you say that book's been around? I said 5,000 years. He goes, oh, there must be truth in it if it's lasted 5,000 years. You think about the best music artists, they're not gonna last 5,000 years. You think about the best movies, they're not gonna last 5,000 years. Well, I'm definitely not gonna last 5,000 years. So the fact that something has stood the test of time, that's worth sharing. So I'm trying to get people to believe in that because that is actually gonna change their life. Them believing in me or another person or whatever is kind of insignificant and irrelevant.
You also try to get people to believe in their purpose. Because you speak about passion being what you like and purpose being what you give. Take us back to the moment when you say you were just in the room waiting for people and you were staring at the four walls, right? If your purpose wasn't greater than your passion, would we be doing this interview today?
That's a great question. The purpose is what drives you because when you're doing your passion, there may not be the result immediately. And so for me, the way I like to explain it is your passion is for you. Your passion is doing something that brings you joy. It could be baking, could be photography, could be organizing your kid's birthday. It could be coaching them, at football or soccer or whatever it may be. That could be your passion. But as soon as you start doing it to improve other people's lives, that's where it becomes a purpose. When you start connecting it with making someone else's day better. So instead of just baking for you, you're now baking for the homeless. Instead of just baking for you, you're now baking for the community. Instead of just taking pictures for yourself, you start sharing it so that people who don't have the money to travel that far can now see what it looks like to experience it. All of a sudden, you start to get that feedback and you realize you're meant for more. You're made for more. You're here for more. Right. For me, I would have kept going, and I did keep going for 10 years of sharing it in small rooms because I saw impact on one person. And I think if anyone wants to build a product, a business, a service, a show, you've got to see how it impacts one person before you can impact 1 million people. If your product can't change one person's life, it's never going to change 1 million people's lives because the feedback you get from that one person is everything. That one person could help you improve your product, your service, your energy, your show more than anyone. I'm sure you guys have had it. Like you've had someone who watches every Pivot podcast, right? Every episode. And they're like, you know what? I really liked it when you guys did that. Oh, I wasn't sure when you guys did that. And same for me. People will be like, oh, I really like it when you share your opinion. I really like it when you stay true to your values. That's what helps you keep going. So to me, I kept going because there was always one person who was being moved. And even today, when I'm speaking to a large audience or an arena, I'm visualizing being in that small room with 3 to 5 people because that's how intimate I want it to feel. I want it to feel like this. This is special. Just the intimacy you guys have created here, this is special. And I want people in a room full of thousands to feel like this because this is what we're all craving. No one's craving to be in a room full of thousands of people. Everyone's craving this eye contact, this kind of connection, this kind of space. And it's our job, and that's what you guys do so well here. Whenever I watch your clips, this is how I feel. I feel this close to you. Before I met you, I felt like I knew you because I'd seen so many of your guys' clips and it felt like you guys were genuine, sincere. You were doing this for the right reason. And so I think we've got to give people that experience. And that's what I've always tried to do, whether it was 5 people or 5,000.
Jay, I look at you, man, the finely manicured hair, right? the beard always taped up, obviously the gear. And I see you in Bad Boys and moving around. And it's like, man, like, this dude's kind of like me. Make sure his hair is nice. He make sure his clothes are tight, right? He gonna stay clean. And I see the lifestyle you live now, and I try to just put my mind and say, okay, Jay Shetty, after being college educated, decided to follow the monastic way. What was it about that lifestyle that drew you to the ashram?
When I met my monk teacher, I saw that he dedicated his life to mastering his emotions and his mind and serving other people. And that's what attracted me. I felt that felt like a life worth pursuing. When I met him, I remember I'd met people who were rich and famous and successful, but I don't think I'd met anyone who was content and happy in their own skin. And my monk teacher didn't have any of those other things, but he was happy in who he was. And I was like, I want that. Like, that feels like the life I want to have. And he graduated also from IIT, which is the MIT of India. So he went to one of the best colleges in the country. For example, the current CEO of Google went to that university. Wow. Like, that's the level of institution. And he gave that all up to be a monk. So I was thinking, and I was at college at the time, and I was thinking, wait a minute, if I'm gonna aspire to get a job like that, this guy's given it up. There's something amazing about him. So to me, it was truly the fascination, and I'm sure you've had it in sports, I'm sure you've had it in business, where you see someone and you just like the way they move. And you think, how are you that happy, that peaceful, that content? And I just wanted to know. And so to me, it was as simple as finding one person who is living differently. And I always say to people, everyone needs to find their monk. And what I mean by that is, who's the one person you haven't met yet that's gonna change the trajectory of your life? Who's the one person who embodies what you believe life is about? It might not be a monk, it might be something else, but everyone has to find that. And for me, mental stability, resilience, and peace, and service to others have always felt like the best pursuits. And now when you're talking about, you know, the hair or the clothes or whatever it is, I'm giving myself permission to be all of myself. So I enjoy presenting myself well. I like living an intentional life. I think the way we dress, the way we appear, everything's about intention. And that's what mindfulness is. Mindfulness ultimately is, am I mindful about what I wear, what I think about, how I show up, what energy I walk into the room with, if I'm kind to people. That's what mindfulness is about. So to me, everything from, like, this room has been mindfully designed. I walked in and I felt happy, I felt good, I felt it was comfortable, it was inviting. But let's say you were like, oh, it doesn't matter, it only matters what's on the inside. We'll just sit in a black room.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna affect your mindset. So mindfulness also means focusing on the outside and the inside. And I think immature mindfulness is like, oh, it only matters what's on the outside. And materialism is, it only matters what's on the outside, right? So I think that's the mistake we make as humans. We think, oh, if I'm spiritual, it means only the inside matters. And if I'm material, only the outside matters. And intentional, mindful living is, they both affect each other. If I'm in a messy outside space, I'm gonna be messy up here. And if I have a messy world here, it doesn't matter how clean my outside is, I'll never be at peace. And that's what I learned in the monastery, for sure.
I love that, man.
Monkism. Is it like the Fight Club, where you can't talk about the Fight Club? Like, I know how to become a Crip or a Blood, you get jumped in. What's the process of becoming a monk? Like, you meet your advisor, your monk teacher.
Yes.
And then you become a monk. What is that process?
Yeah, no, there's a system for sure, and it's not like Fight Club. You can totally talk about it. So
And you don't get jumped in.
Yeah.
So do they jump you in? Because I seen some with some yoked upness to them.
The initiation is the daily practice and commitment to it. So you're waking up at 4 a.m., you're meditating for 4 to 8 hours a day, you sleep on the floor or on a thin mat and have a sheet. When you're in India, you have a mosquito net because the mosquitoes will bite you all night. So you got to be inside of this tent-like thing. You get 2 sets of robes, you wear one, you wash one. All your possessions fit inside a gym locker. And you live that practice. You eat what you're given. You don't get to choose, there's no menu. You don't get to say, today I want pizza, and it doesn't exist. Everyone eats the same thing. There's no space that's yours. So we'd be in a room like this and there's 30 men sleeping in it, and you just put your mat down and go to sleep. It's not like that's my corner. the idea is to lose a sense of I, me, and mine. And so you have very, very few possessions. And it's that daily practice and commitment that if they see you're dedicated to, that allows you to become a monk.
But is it like, let's ride to the monastery? Like, I've seen movies.
I get it.
That process of it, like you being a monk and your book, the mindset. Okay, I met this dude. And then now I'm sleeping on the mat with 30 dudes sitting in the room with me. Like that process, why? Like, but what is those steps? Is it something mental? Then the shaving of the hair and all that stuff? Like, I like the process from living a normal life, having an apartment, graduating from one of the best schools, and now I have no possessions. I'm in a locker and I'm sleeping on the floor with 29 dudes.
So I was so young when I did it that there was a sense of naive following. And what I mean by that is I was just like, let's give it a go. Like, let's try it out. Like, let's test it out. I kind of went in there as an experiment of like, can I do this? What does it look like? And I think I had that openness of that age where you aren't necessarily asking all these questions. You're kind of just like, let's see how it goes. And to me, it was as simple as I spoke to the monk in England, which is where I first met him, and then he invited me to India to spend time with him. So I flew over during my Christmas breaks and college vacations, and I would spend time with him at the monastery. And now at that time, I would get a more comfortable room and I'd do the practices. So they didn't throw me right into the deep end. But I did that so often that I got so used to it that when I graduated, I knew what I was getting myself into. It's almost like you've seen the spaces you're gonna sleep in. You've seen what it looks like. And I truly, if I'm completely honest, I didn't give it too much thought. I was just like, I'm open to it. Let's see if it works. Let's test it out. And so to me, the mindset was being open, not being skeptical, and being a human guinea pig and going, let's see if this proves to be true. And the more I did it, the more I gained confidence in it. Because, I mean, to me, a kid from London waking up at 4 a.m., as a college student, that's unheard of. You're getting back at 4 a.m., right? From going out. And so all of a sudden I'm waking up at 4 a.m., but I literally said, I'm just gonna do this properly and see if it works. And I think that's something I'd like to encourage, especially young people to do, is if you're gonna try something out, go all in and test it out for 7 days. And if it doesn't work, don't do it again. But the problem is we never go all in, we do it for a day. If I said to you, I really wanna learn about American football, right? I really wanna understand the game. Well, if I come to one game a year, what am I gonna learn? If you go to one meditation a year, what are you gonna learn? I'm not gonna learn anything. But if I sat with you every single day, if I followed you around, if I followed the players around, then I'm actually gonna learn something, right? And so I think it's that intimacy and that connection to a coach, a mentor, a guide that makes it easier to understand what's happening and what's going on. So it's an immersive experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I want to make sure I answer your question.
Yes, exactly.
It's
what
a
you're
great
saying,
question.
It sounds, it seems crazy to do, but you wanted to dive in, and that's
totally. It is crazy. It was so. Now when I look back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I had that young, naive spirit of this guy has something I don't have, and I want it. And you could think about how that mindset can get you into trouble, right? When you're young, I'm sure I saw lots of guys who had amazing cars and rims and clothes and whatever it is, and you can get involved in the wrong things because you also want that. I just was really lucky that the person I was inspired to be like was a monk. People always ask me, like, how did you have that at such a young age? I truly think it's because of their aura and their presence. It's a little bit of me. I have a good heart. I was raised to be a good man. My mom raised me well. But they're just so powerful in their presence that you just couldn't help but want to live that way. And I'm lucky that it was the right people, not the wrong people, because that naive mindset can end up, in completely the other direction.
I just want to add to that too, Jay, before I get into the immersion, because you're here now, you're one of the boys. And this is more so for Channing, but I just want to say before I get into that question is you're not your thoughts, right? You're not your emotions, you're the observer of those things. And the young Jay, you were able to observe, what you wanted when you met this monk, and it allowed you to discover your identity and your real purpose, if I'm on the right line.
Absolutely.
But in terms of Channing, I want to go back to when you say being mindful, right, in your appearance and your approach. what drives that? Because Channing calls it insecurity.
Oh, this
than
conversation.
More so than awareness, because he feels that the way Ryan dresses or the way I might dress or the things I wear, which comes across as materialistic, but it's something that I like, right? How do you, what drives your mindfulness? I'm sure it's not an insecurity, more so than it is awareness itself of wanting to present yourself this way.
The way I like to think about it is two people can do the exact same thing, but for completely different reasons. Let's say we were at a charity event and two celebrities signed $1 million check for the charity. We don't know what's happening inside their head. One of them signed it because they want to be seen as charitable. The other person signed it because they really believe in the charity. We don't know. Only they do. And that's how it works with everything in life. Two people go to the same job every day. One person does it because they love the job. The other person does it to put food on the table. You could see two people dressed in three-piece suits. One does it because they're insecure, and one does it because it represents who they are and how they want to be presented. No one knows. The only person that knows is the person wearing the suit, wearing the watch, giving the money in charity. Externally, it's both. It could be whatever. And so sometimes we see people and we project our own insecurities onto them. So I'm not saying that about Channing. I don't know you well enough.
No, y'all look at me. I'm going to go off what Jay said. Some people do it for insecurity. Other is how they want to be presented. Presented to who? Other people.
And themselves.
If the world was blind, would you dress up?
So I'll give you an example. I'll give you a really good example. My friends back in London rip the way. What word do you use for like I don't know, what's the word? Like, what's the word in American?
You take rip.
Yeah. So like, I'm just making sure I'm not speaking too much British slang. I'm not trying to...
Hey, light your ass up.
So my friends back at home will see me on the red carpet and destroy me in the group chat. Right? They'll post it up and be like, what is up with your hair, bro? Like, like, what are you wearing? Why are you wearing that? Why are you looking like a girl? Like, like that, my friends will completely destroy me in the group chat. So I get no clout for dressing the way I am. Like, I have taken some risks. My wife, we made a video last week, which wasn't my idea, but it was Taylor who's here with me. So Taylor, she set me up. She invited me into a space with my wife, and she had printed out all my looks in the last 9 years of my public figure career, like since I left the monastery and since my career took off. And she got my wife to rate my looks and roast me on each one of them. My wife doesn't even like the stuff I wear. So if I'm completely honest, and this is why I like Ryan, because he has good taste, right? So Ryan compliments me on what I wear because he has good taste. A lot of people don't have good taste. So actually, I wear a lot of stuff that no one wants to see me in. And so what I'm trying to say is that actually, I would argue that some of the things, and I'm talking for myself, right? I can only talk for myself. I'd argue and say, a lot of the stuff I wear, the people around me don't even like it. But I like it. It makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel confident. It makes me feel like for me, I also like to dress up to feel how I want to feel in this space. So I'm comfortable in this. I feel casual in it. I feel like myself. I feel relaxed. Do I want people to think I care about my appearance? Of course I do, definitely. Do I care what people think about my appearance? Of course I do. I'm not beyond that. And I think it's the honesty of that, which is what makes me authentic, not the not caring. I think we live in a world where we think, if that person don't care about what anyone thinks, they're authentic. No, authentic is me being honest about what I care about and what I don't. Do I care if Ryan thinks I dress well? Yes, of course I do. But that's honesty. That is authenticity. I think today we've made authenticity feel like, I don't care about anyone. I'm above it all. I'm beyond it. That's not authenticity. That's just fake. Name me one person. By the way, when I walked around as a monk, that's when I really didn't care. Because we had robes, we had shaved heads, and there was nothing attractive about our appearance. And I remember walking through city centers. We traveled across Scandinavia teaching meditation in Copenhagen and Stockholm and Oslo. And I'd be on the streets and people are laughing at you. People are looking at you like you're dressed weird. Like I've done that too. So I have lived in a world of no one cared. I didn't care what people thought. But now at this point, I'd rather be honest and say, I like taking pride in my appearance. I like dressing a certain way. Some people hate it, some people love it. But I think that no one knows what's going on inside someone's mind. And that's what's most interesting to me, is that we can all have projections of why people dress the way they do, talk the way they do, or do what they do. And then you realize what you said. I think the inner reflection is more important to me than what we think of others. So the inner reflection is, am I doing this for the praise? Because if I am, I'm going to be let down by it. Because sometimes people are going to notice it and sometimes they're not. So do I keep doing it when there's no praise? Or do I only do it when there is praise? Am I doing this because it makes me feel comfortable? Or am I willing to wear something completely uncomfortable in order to impress people?
Yeah.
Right? So I never wear a suit these days because I don't like wearing suits. I don't feel comfortable in them. Right? It doesn't make me feel at ease.
He wears the tight crotch suits. Them can't be comfortable.
Why are you looking at my crotch?
Because I know you got a yeast infection. Jay, I gotta ask you, with the honesty too.
Yeah.
Because they've killed me on this show before. We've been doing this a long time.
They usually roast you?
No. But when I tell dudes, like, you're a good looking dude, like, what's the boy's name? Denzel Ward. Like, I see a dude, I'm like, bro, you a fine dude. Like, Jason Momoa, Idris Elba. I got some dudes that we could raise a baby together. But, like, do you think, you're a very good looking man. The pretty eyes, like in the way you talk and the little, the accent. Would you be as successful if you were a big old fat ugly guy?
I don't know. There's two sides to this. One side is I'm also an Indian man. You don't see a lot of brown Indian people having huge public profiles. Like, it's just not that as common, right? It's just not, I mean, to be honest, I think most Indian people, when they come to America, it's like most people don't even know where to place you. Born and raised in London, there's lots of Indian people, so it's very common. But in the media, you didn't really see that. And so if you think about in America, the most successful Indian person in America of all time is Deepak Chopra. Like, the only person I can think of. And then there would have been like a musician, Jay Sean. More recently, there's Riz Ahmed and Dev Patel, both amazing actors. But there's few and far between. Like, there's a handful of South Asian people. I think it's a hard question to answer because I don't know is the reality. But what I would say is that, subjectively speaking, there's plenty of people who've succeeded in life not based on their appearance as well. And they would say that themselves. And I don't think anyone is attractive to everyone. Like, people always meet me and go, oh, you're a lot shorter in person, right? Which means that there's a presence on screen that, like, people expect me to be bigger, but that's a personality thing. That's not my shape or size. Some people also tell me that I look more fat on social media. People meet me and they're like, oh, you're really lean. You're like fit in person. And I'm like, oh, wait, what do I look like on screen? And then, so I think, appearance and stuff is it's so subjective, right? I'm sure you met someone that like I get it. There's people that I think are attractive or whatever, and some people think they're ugly. It's such a messy thing. Ultimately, what I think it is it does come down to energy and personality and spirit, and that's what people hold on to with people. I think that's what works. When you look at the biggest YouTubers in the world today, look at some of the biggest podcasters, look at some of the biggest comedians. It's people telling great stories and people who make you feel something. And I think that's what wins in the online world. Because back in the day, people were choosing who people followed, right? There would be an exec in a suit that said, you're good looking, you're ugly. The good looking person gets to be front of house, the ugly person has to be back of house. No one decides that anymore. The public decides who goes up and down. So to me, when the public gets to decide, now you have to make someone feel something for them to keep being involved. And I've been doing this for 9 years online. And my goal always is to make people feel something. And by the way, if you look at my old videos, I didn't have like this. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I've got, people, I remember my first video we posted, people were like, why has he got a wind machine? Dude, it wasn't a wind machine, it was the wind. The wind's just blowing my hair because I didn't have a team to produce the thing. My first video, I'm sitting there with a boom mic stuck into a backpack to hold it up. And my friend's got his camera, like that's all we had. And so when I started out, we didn't have, like I wasn't, wearing cool clothes. My hair wasn't perfect. I was just some guy. So I think, to me, it's what we make people feel. To me, that's what people connect with.
Life is about connection. And we're all searching for it in some way and in something. And I thought you said something really profound about the language we use, right? There's two different ways to describe being alone. One is solitude. which can be looked at as a positive. And then there's loneliness, which obviously has a negative connotation. How does someone who is alone or spending time alone decipher between the two?
I think in today's society, people would rather be in the wrong relationship than be alone. People would rather settle for less than they deserve than be alone. People would rather be in a toxic relationship than be alone. We've made being alone feel so scary and feel so bad that people don't even think about it. 80% of people will pick out their phone in a crowd just not to feel lonely. You just walk in through a crowd and you just take your phone out because you don't want to feel like you're alone. People struggle to eat on their own. When have you ever seen someone go out, sit at a table by themselves and eat food? If we do that, we have to get our phone out. It's very rare. So we've made it since we were young. If you think about it, if you were the kid eating lunch on your own table alone, you were considered the loner or the weirdo. If you turn up to a wedding and you don't have a +1, or you just got divorced, or you just broke up, everyone's looking at you like, oh, are you okay? Like, poor you. It's like, if you don't have someone next to you, you're always seen as weaker, less than, or incomplete. We even say that. We say, find someone who completes you. What does that mean? It means you're incomplete without someone. So we've made people feel that if you're alone, you're incomplete. So we've villainized being alone. But Paul Tillich wrote about it, and the monk teachers reminded me that there's 2 words for being alone. One is lonely, and one is solitude. Paul Tillich says that being lonely is the weakness of being alone, but solitude is the strength of being alone. So solitude is saying, actually, if I can be comfortable in my own company, that's success. If I can like the thoughts in my mind and the conversations I have in my head when I'm alone, then I've had success in my life. And that's what the monks were trying to train you to do. That instead of always looking for the next bit of praise, the next bit of validation, the next bit of approval, how do I feel so centered and happy and content with who I am that I'm not looking for other people to fill the parts of me that are gaps. I actually look for other people so we can enhance and grow together. And so to me, solitude is something we all need. And by the way, we did this at my last show. 2 years ago, I went on a world tour. We did nearly 40 cities across the world. And my first segment was something I was so excited to do. So what we did is I asked people in the audience, who's the most addicted to their phone? And we broke it down to the person who looks at their phone basically every 2 minutes. So I'd bring them out the audience. Out of 5,000 people, we'd take one person onto stage. And I asked them how that feels. And they usually feel pretty bad about it, naturally, as we all do. And I told them, well, they shouldn't feel bad about it because they're just the honest one. Everyone else is lying.
Right.
Because, everyone's addicted to their phone. And then what I did is I gave them one question. And what they didn't know is we locked them into a cave on stage. We had this big box come out, almost like a magician's box. And we locked them in it in pitch black, gave them noise-canceling headphones so they can't hear anything. I didn't even tell them how long they were going to be in there. This person was in there for 15 minutes alone. We had a night vision camera so we could see how they were settling in them. And I left them with one question. The question was, what's the one thing you value that you've been devaluing lately? What's really important to you, but you keep brushing it aside? I left them with that. 15 minutes later, people would come out of this solitude. Some people would be in tears. Some people would be in deep reflection. Some people would have had a moment. It was so good that people thought we faked the whole thing. Like people afterwards coming up to me going, you must have faked that. I was like, trust me, I'm in Australia. I've never been to Australia. We just picked someone out of the audience. People had huge experiences. And the reason I did that was to show people that when you take reflection into solitude, you come out with value, right? We've been told if you're alone, you don't get any value from it. These people were getting so much value from it because they had a pointed focus and reflection. And then afterwards, we'd have a conversation about it. People were talking about how they valued their family and they don't care about them. They haven't been focusing on them. People talked about their kids. People talked about themselves. It was really beautiful, and we've got video footage to prove it. And what was amazing about it was just everyone walked away realizing that solitude and the discomfort of solitude was helpful. So to me, it's all about showing people that they have the answers within themselves, not showing them that I have the answers. And solitude has the answers. You can't hear your voice when you're surrounded by all of this noise. You can't hear your inner voice when you're surrounded by opinions. You can't hear your voice when you're always asking the group chat, what should I wear? What should I do? Where should we go? You never get to know yourself because you never had to.
How do you get people to embrace that solitude and that stillness? Because the world, it's a constant reminder of what hustle, how it can reward you, right? And then technology is forever evolving. You don't want to feel missed out. So how do you get someone to, like I'm the person that's on my phone, right? All the time. If you ask them, I'm that guy that would have been pulled out of the crowd. But how do you get someone to embrace that stillness that you would hope that they could search for?
I think a lot of people think that stillness and solitude means doing nothing and just sitting there. And that's not the goal. The goal is we're gonna focus your attention on one thing. And actually that's where beast mode comes from. To me, beast mode doesn't come from running around being busy. Beast mode comes from having super focus on one thing. There's this great quote I love from Bruce Lee, where he said, I'm not scared of the man who's practiced 15,000 kicks one time each. I'm scared of the man who's practiced one kick 15,000 times, right? Because if you've practiced something once every time, you're not scared of that person because they can't do it that well. So the person who's running around trying to do everything, I'm not scared of that person. They're not winning. I'm scared of the person who stood at the hoop and shot 100 free throws every hour for the next 10 days. That person's scary. So that's what stillness and solitude is can I focus, laser focus on one thing? Whether that's the mindset, whether that's clarity, whether it's strategy, whether it's my breath, whatever it is, that person's scary. That person's undefeatable because that person has done the same thing again and again and again. Does that make sense? It's like stillness and solitude isn't, I'm just sitting there doing nothing, time's going by, I'm wasting time. It's one pointed attention energetically. I was talking to Carmelo Anthony yesterday and he was saying that the best games he played was when his coaches showed him a video of like 300 when like Gerard Butler's like shouting Sparta or like, the best games he played was when he was in the zone. The best games wasn't the ones where he's like just doing a million things. It was like he was shown a video that made him feel like a gladiator, that made him know what he had to go and do out there. That's what solitude gives you the space to do. Solitude gives you the space to go, what is the energy I'm trying to create? But you can't create that if you're hustling, running around, trying to win at everything and do everything. And that's what I want people to think of stillness and solitude as. It's priming the beast inside of you to do what Bruce Lee said, which is, I'm so focused that, I don't even need to move that much to destroy my enemy. Like, that's the energy you can create in solitude.
When I look at you and your wife now, right, it's like your wife has her own thing, you have your own thing, and then you come together and you guys do your thing. You met her while you were in the monastery, and then now you're out and you get an opportunity to develop this relationship. Was it difficult to be in something where it became about us when for 3 years you were dealing in the world of mindfulness, of understanding solitude, of having a certain level of peace by yourself, and now you had to give yourself to someone else?
Yeah, I actually met her before I became a monk.
Okay.
And we never dated. I just met her. I introduced her to my sister. They became friends. And so when I came back from the monastery, her and my sister were best friends. And my sister was my wingman. So in my first book, I wrote my dedication. I dedicated Think Like a Monk to my wife. And the dedication says, to my wife, who's more monk than I'll ever be. And I mean that. My wife is way more monk than I'll ever be. I had to work to be a monk. My wife is a monk. Like, she's naturally that way. And I got lucky and fortunate that I was able to find a partner who actually brings me peace rather than brings me drama. And I always say that the right person will reduce drama and the wrong person will increase trauma, right? The right person brings you peace. The wrong person brings you chaos. The right person brings you stability. The wrong person brings you inconsistency. And so to me, I found someone who was able to match that energy. But it was hard in the beginning because I came out of the monastery as a bit of an avoidant. What I mean by that was, I used to constantly say to my wife, you know, I'd be okay without you. I used to be happy before this. I'm okay without you. And I didn't realize how much damage that did to connection because I felt that was strength and confidence. It was just avoidance. It was the avoidance of connection. I'd be like, oh, I'd be happy on my own. I'm happy on my own. I was good by myself. It's not that that's not true. It's that when you're trying to connect with someone, that isn't the language and the approach that creates connection. So what did that do? That created a relationship where my wife was like, well, I'm okay without you too, right? And now you're like two strangers living in the same house who both think, oh, we're better without each other. We're fine without each other. So that's what the challenge was, is that I came out as an avoidant and created an avoidant attachment style in my own relationship. And it took me a long time to realize, and partly it was me grieving a past life. And I'm sure you felt this in sport, business, and everything else in your lives. When you're retiring, there's a grieving of who you used to be. And so for me, leaving the monastery, I was grieving that life that I'd created for myself. And what you do is when you're grieving, you take that into the next life. And you carry that baggage into your next relationship. It took me a lot of years to say, actually, I'm just going to embrace. I'm a married man now. I'm not a monk anymore. And that's okay. And this is coming with new gifts, new blessings, new reflections. And this is going to make me a better monk, a better man, a better person if I embrace it rather than I keep holding on to this over here. There's a beautiful Zen teaching that says, whatever you're holding on to is what's holding you back. So if you're holding on to a past version of yourself, that's holding you back. If you're holding to a person in your past, that's holding you back. If you're holding on to a life that you once had, that's holding you back. So what's holding you back is something you're actually holding on to. But if you just let it go and free it, you're free to move forward.
And Jay, I got to ask you about the 3-year stretch in the monastery. You were in college, you were having a good time, understand you, and then you got back into the world. There was 3 years you didn't touch a woman or have no sex.
Nothing.
For 3 years?
Nothing.
Bro, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Did you have to really meditate some nights? Like, bro, it's 3 years, Jay. That's nuts to me.
You know what it is? There's an environment. When you go to a place where people have meditated for decades, and some temples we went to in south of India, people have meditated for thousands of years. And people have been celibate for thousands of years. There's an energy in that space that you can't conceive. The only way I can describe it is like when you go to a stadium that you love and you just get pumped because you walk into the stadium and it has an energy because your greats played there and you won Super Bowls there or whatever it is, and you walk into that space. And so I think the energetic sphere that's created by the monks is what makes it easier. Was it hard for me? Of course it was. Was it unnatural for me? Of course it was. But there was a value in it, and it was made easier in their association. There are certain things that are easier when you're surrounded by people, right? There's that famous quote that says, if you're surrounded by 5 rich people, you'll be the 6th. If you're surrounded by 5 smart people, you'll be the 6th. If you're surrounded by 5 fit people, you'll be the 6th. And if you're surrounded by 5 idiots, you'll be the 6th, right? You're gonna be the 6th of whoever you are. So when you're surrounded by all these people that are committed to this practice, surprisingly, it becomes easier. But yes, there were times when I had to really lock in, when I felt weak, when I felt moments of vulnerability, for sure. You're so engaged positively. This is another trick for the mind. The mind can't give up something hard if it doesn't have something that it's connected to better, right? So when you think about the first car you ever got, this is how I like to think about this. The first car I ever got, I'll have to show you a picture later. It's a red Vauxhall Corsa, which I don't even think they have the brand in America, but it's like this tiny little red Beetle-looking thing, right? It was the first car I ever had. To me, that was a Ferrari, because I was a kid who just wanted a car. Like, I would be playing like 50 Cent, the game, while driving around in my red, tiny little Beetle-looking car, and I felt like the coolest kid in town. And this is when you had the cassette tape that connected to the MP3 player and then, played the song. And I used to feel so cool. Now when I look back at that picture, I mean, I look like an idiot. Like that car was, whatever. But if someone told me to give up that car for nothing, I'd be like, are you kidding me? I'd never give it up. It's the best car in the world. Because for me, that's all I could afford. That was the best thing I could have. But if someone said, hey, I'll trade you, at that time, I'll trade you a Mercedes for that car, I would have done it in an instant, obviously. That's kind of what it's like, where it's like you're addicted to this thing over here. You can't just give it up. Like to theoretically rationalize how you can give it up is impossible. But when someone's offering you something, when it's enlightenment, mindfulness, presence, the greatest emotional and mental mastery, and it's being offered to you, it's because of that it becomes easier to not follow this distraction, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Jay, you talked about your wife and yourself living in the same home as strangers. Did that help you create your book, The 8 Rules of Love? I think you talk about building and maintaining relationships. And I also want to ask you, what's the most common misconception of love?
So the book wasn't written from what I got right. The book was written from what other people got wrong that shared their stories with me. So I wrote the book not from what I got right about love, but from what I got wrong and the people that I interviewed and what they got wrong. Because I think it's really interesting to study people's challenges. The biggest misconception about love is that we've confused inconsistency with excitement, and we've confused stability with boredom. We've confused that if someone shows up with effort, that they're desperate. If someone shows up for us with time and energy, we think they need us. We think that if someone actually has space for us, then they must be the loser. We believe that love means chasing someone who doesn't want to stay rather than being with someone who never wants to leave. The biggest misconception is that love is something that has to be earned rather than shared. And so what we do is we want to be with the person who keeps us on our toes, right? We've all met people who say, I really want someone with values, but then they chase the person who doesn't give them validation. We've all met someone who says, I really want someone who's affectionate, but they chase the person who doesn't give them any attention. We've all met someone who says, I really want someone who's present, but then you're chasing the person who never shows up on time. We're always chasing the person who doesn't give us what we want because we believe that's love. And that's the biggest misconception. And too many people are chasing all the wrong people, and the right person is standing right there, ready to love them with all their heart, but they're boring, needy, desperate, and I'm not attracted to them. But wait, when you're gonna be with someone for 5, 10, 15 years, I want the person who texts me back. Mm-hmm. I want the person who calls me back. In 5, 10, 15 years' time, I want the person who shows up on time. I want the person who wants to hear how my day was. I don't want the person who's never around. I don't want the person who disappears when it's hard. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not the person I want. And so people are choosing the 6-month pleasure versus the 60-year presence. Mm-hmm. And yeah, those 6 months are gonna be the amazing 6 months, but guess what? You're gonna have to keep doing those 6 months every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
And so you either date 30 people every 6 months for the rest of your life, or you have one person or 2 people maybe. Because by the way, I also don't like to demonize divorce and breakups, because I do believe it's honestly possible for people to outgrow each other and for people to grow apart. And I don't think we should demonize people who get divorced or break up or make it feel like a failure, when actually it could be the best decisions of someone's life and the best decision for that other person. And I think we have to learn in society to be okay with that, because A, 50% of people are doing it anyway, so you're gonna know someone who's gone through it. And B, it's actually, we should realize it's more rare to stay with someone than it is to leave someone. It's way harder to find someone on planet Earth that you actually can stay with than it is to find someone that you probably will outgrow or break up with. So, I think we've got to give people an easier time on that.
That's interesting, because in reading the title of your book, it's, find it, keep it, let it go. And it's almost one of those things, you read that title and you're like, well, damn, He gonna get me to it, then teach me how to live when it's gone. But that is part of it. When you wrote that book, what sort of advice were you trying to give to people who are looking for love, who are trying to continue to build on their love, and also who are trying to let go of love lost?
There's two things. The first is everyone at one point in their life will have to let go of someone they love. Whether that be while that person's alive or while that person's about to pass away. Every single one of us is gonna lose someone we love. And the hardest realization is when you recognize that you love someone, but you still have to let them go because you didn't have the other emotional skills to keep love. Right? You can love someone, but not be good for them. And someone can love you, but not be right for you because they don't have the other emotional skills that make love stay. Love's not enough. You need emotional maturity, you need personal mastery, you need self-control, you need compassion, you need empathy. There is so much more needed to make love last. And so a lot of us are gonna lose love because we didn't develop those other skills. You lose love to remind you that there are other skills to be developed as well. There are other habits that you need to build as well. And the number one habit that I encourage all people to realize is that we've put romantic love on a pedestal. On planet Earth, we believe that romantic love is the number one type of love. If you look at all the spiritual traditions, they disagree. They believe that the number one type of love is a parent's love for their child. That's the deepest, most unconditional, selfless love that could possibly exist. But in humans, we've said romantic love is better than anything. So someone could be loved by their kid and love their kid. Someone could love their friends and be loved by their friends. Someone could love their brother or their sister and be loved by their siblings, but still feel incomplete because they don't have a partner. And I want to remind people that you need to value all of those forms of love as much as romantic love. Stop putting this hierarchy on love. Stop rating love on a scale of romantic love is the best, family love is second, kids love is fifth. That's what's ruining love in our lives. I think people don't realize how much love they already have. And by the way, that will probably help you find romantic love. Whereas when you walk around thinking, I don't have love in my life, well, guess what? That's all you're gonna see.
Speaking of love, does your passion for helping others, your passion for, spiritually guiding people, does that take away from your personal love relationships, your wife, your family? Because you're helping so many people. There's only so much energy, there's only so many hours in a day.
That's a great question. Yeah, I've always felt like, in one sense, I always feel like I have so much parental energy because my work is so parental, right? It's almost like you're giving parental love through what I do every day. So I feel like the parental side of my life is very satisfied. But I still want to have kids with my wife because I think she'll be a great mom. I think that I'd like to create with her because I'd want to have a kid that's just like her. So there's a beauty in that too. I think about it the other way around. If you love your kid, you have to love their friends. Because if you don't love their friends, your kid is surrounded by friends who don't have love. And if you love your kid and you love their friends, you have to love their school. Because if you don't care about the school they go to, your kid is going to become like the school makes them. So if you love your kid and you love their friends and you care about their school, you've got to care about the city they grow up in. Because what they see on the streets is what they're going to repeat. And then if you care about your kid and you care about their friends and you care about the school and you care about the city, you've got to care about the country they grow up in. Because the leaders they see are the people they're following. So if you actually care about your kid, you have to care about the world. Because your kid is growing up in that world. And so I think people don't realize, they go, oh, I'm caring about my kids. But if you just care about your kids, you don't really get them anywhere because they're growing up in the world that you hate. And that's not the world you want to create. And that's why I think so many people today are realizing it does matter who the leaders are. It does matter what they see on TV. It does matter who's represented. It does matter that people of color get a chance to have exec positions and leadership positions. It does matter that people are represented effectively on screen and off screen. It does matter that women are in boardrooms and are CEOs. All of this matters because your kid's gonna grow up in that world. Yep. It's not good enough to say, I love my kid, I care about them, and because I just take care of them, everything's gonna be okay. Now, I'm not saying everyone has the capacity to take care of everything, but the mom showing up at school to make sure the kids have support, that's making an impact, right? The parent who's coaching their kid in Little League, that's making an impact. The fact that I get to try and show love to the world is making an impact in my own way. So to me, it's all connected. I can't really break it apart, if that makes sense.
When I do speak to schools, businesses, whatever, I like to lead with routine versus commitment, because I think routines are vital for everyone. Much like yourself as a monk, you believe in structure. I know, think like a monk, you talk about routine. When things are challenging for you, do you have like a personal mantra or something that kind of reminds you to get back in gear? Because in my speech about routine versus commitment, we all are gonna have that, but the commitment reinforces the routine in those times when you don't feel like, sticking to that routine. What's your personal mantra or guideline?
Everything that is good for me is hard before I do it and easy after I do it. And everything that's bad for me is easy before I do it and is hard after I do it. Getting to the gym is hard. The feeling after leaving the gym is easy. Eating junk food is easy, but the feeling afterwards is hard. So I like to remind myself that if I don't feel like going to the gym right now, that's how it's meant to feel. It's gonna be hard. If I don't feel like eating a salad right now, that's how it's meant to feel. It's hard because it's good for me. So anything that is good for my body and good for my mind is hard to do right now, but it bears benefits afterwards. And anything that is not great for me to do right now, it's gonna be easy, but it's gonna create lots of pain afterwards. Right. And that reminder to me allows me to recognize it's okay, it's hard, because it's good for me. So I turn to that. When it's a bigger thing in life, a mantra that I love is, this only makes the story better. Whenever I fail, or whenever I lose, or whenever something goes wrong, I always say to myself, this only makes the story better. Because if you've failed, you've fallen, you've made mistakes, you're human, it's more relatable. When you tell your story one day, more people will connect to you. Whereas if your story was just win after win after win after win, you're unrelatable. And so it only makes the story better.
Jay, you seem really traditional in a lot of ways and then so progressive in others. I think when you have a mindset that's deeply rooted in history, some of those things are going to carry over. But you also seem to understand, okay, as life changes and as life evolves, we have to. We had Jason Kelce on the show, and he talked about the famous swipe right or left, whatever way it is, that got him Kylie. For you, when you think of like dating apps and the way that people try to meet one another now, how much better do you think that makes it, or do you think it's harder that way?
You have to look at through what's actually changed. So we have more choices, but all the studies show that humans are bad with more choice. The paradox of choice is a recent study that shows how when humans have more things to choose from, they always make bad choices. And so I think there's a big challenge in the fact that now you're exposed to more people. 25, 30 years ago, most people married someone in a 5-mile radius of where they grew up. So your friend knew them, your brother knew them, your family knew them, the person down the street knew them, someone knew them, and that's how you met them. Today, people are getting married to people from different cities, different countries, different cultures, and that comes with a set of challenges. Not that it's bad, it just requires more maturity, it requires more openness and wisdom. And so what I think we need to do is we need to be really clear about the values and vision of the relationship we want, because that hasn't changed. You could have married the person next door 25 years ago, and they could have been abusive. They could have been a narcissist. And they probably were, and we just didn't think about it because people got arranged marriages and they didn't talk about it. It wasn't public knowledge. Just because you married the person next door doesn't mean they were right for you. That wasn't a good thing either. So I think we also have this nostalgic view of, the eyes crossed at the grocery store, and I dropped a bag of potatoes and they came and picked them up with me. And oh my God, it was so romantic. It's like, yeah, but that person was a psycho. Like you didn't know that,
That's
right?
why they picture potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? It's like, but you didn't talk about that. Like in the past, that people didn't talk about this.
Right.
Right? You have so many marriages that have physical abuse, domestic violence, verbal abuse going on background behind the scenes. No one even knows about it. But we met them next door. They were my sister's friend. Like, it was awesome. Like, we have this romantic view of the past, and I don't think that's healthy either. We have to move with the times. So one of the things I built recently is I partnered up with Match.com to build a values-based matching system. What this does is it allows you to do a short test we created where you get to learn your values, and everyone who joins that part of the app does the same. The goal for this was not to say I want you to find someone with the same values. The goal for me was now at least you can see someone's values up front. And when you meet them, you can check whether their values are aligned. Because here's the thing, no one walks around with their values stuck on the top of their forehead.
Right.
It takes years to figure someone's values out. But what if that becomes the thing you start talking about, checking out? When you meet someone and they say, oh yeah, I love my family, family's number one priority. Then you go to them, when did you last speak to your mom? And they're like, I don't know, I haven't spoken to her for 2 years. It's like, oh, all right, this person's not in alignment. Someone says to you, oh yeah, I'm ambitious, I love work. And then you go, all right, well, what are you building right now? And they're like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out, right? It's like, you can very quickly, when you talk about values, figure out whether someone is compatible for you and whether you're attracted to them and excited about them. And so to me, I'm more interested in making people clear about their vision and values, and that will make dating easier because that narrows the pool. That makes the choice easier, rather than if you're just basing it on looks, or if you're just basing it on a clever little caption or a funny thing they said about themselves. I mean, now you can just get ChatGPT to write the funniest thing and everyone's a comedian now, It's like, it's not hard to fake it. And so I think we have to look deeper to find a relationship that's gonna last longer. We have to look beyond looks to find a relationship that will last when the looks fade. We gotta look so much more at someone's heart than just how interesting they look on a page. And that only happens when you talk about vision and values.
My favorite Jay Shetty picture, Like this, I like all the red carpet pictures. I like all the different things that, the events you show up at, presiding over nuptials. All those pictures are cool, but the coolest picture is your high school picture, right? And I think it's because of the story you shared on Instagram about it, though. All the things people told you couldn't do, all the things people said you couldn't be. And it seems now that you are living in your purpose. And that purpose is a tree that's deeply rooted with a lot of branches. For people watching this show, Jay, how will they truly know that what they're doing, what they're pouring into, is them living in their purpose?
The first step of finding your purpose is collecting. Wherever you are right now, even if you hate your job, collect every skill, every person, every networking relationship. Collect. Literally see yourself as a collector of like gold coins. Even if you hate your job, you hate your career, collect everything you possibly can from this experience. And then move to the next thing and collect everything from there. And one day after you've done enough collecting, you're gonna start connecting the dots. So my first ever job was, I used to deliver newspapers in my area. All my friends who also delivered newspapers, they used to throw them on the train tracks. They never delivered them. So the guy who owned the newspaper company gave me more streets. So what did I learn? I learned when you do a good job, you get rewarded. My next job was I worked at Morrison's. Morrison's is our Walmart, like a grocery store. I used to stack shelves, I used to bring in pallets, I worked back of house. It was a hard job. I learned that not always just working hard leads to great rewards, right? The third job I had, I worked in retail. The fourth job I had, in one sense, after that, my fourth job was being a monk. I learned all the wisdom. I learned all the wisdom that I learned. The fifth job I had, I worked in the corporate world. I worked as a consultant. I learned negotiation. I learned sales. I learned connection. I learned understanding what people wanted and needed in different industries. Today, I'm living my purpose because I just connected all of that. everything I'm living today is as much management as it is monk, as it is Morrison's, as it is paper delivery. It's all of those things. And people think, no, there's one job that's gonna be my purpose. Everything you do today, everything all of you do today, is this beautiful harmony and synergy of all the experiences you've had. That's what purpose is. And so purpose is not about finding the perfect job or the perfect title or the perfect thing. It's about just collecting experiences, collecting people, and then connecting it one day.
Just listen to you talk and knowing your success and watching your videos. Were you born different to be able to do what you're doing? Or with them, did those experiences make Jay Shetty?
When you actually study the greatest athletes of all time, even if they were born with it, they're still working harder than everyone.
But Randy Moss was 6'4", had a 40-inch vertical.
Sure, so
ran a 4.2. You know, like the athlete side of it, but
you probably know a lot of guys that are 6'4" and can't do that. So, you know, I know a lot of people that are tall and built, but I know a lot of people that are attractive that are not actors on screen. I know a lot of people who can sing who aren't musicians. Like, I know a lot of rappers that made it that have terrible verses, like, you know, but they stuck it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you think about the amount of rappers that have terrible verses but have hit songs, but when you hear their bars, you're like, how did you make it? But they stuck around.
Yeah.
So consistency, like what's that famous quote? Like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Like that, it's the oldest quote in the book, but it's so true. So for me, I would say that so much of it was nurture. So much of it was nurture. My parents were really scared I was gonna be a shy kid, so they forced me to go to public speaking and drama school when I was 11 years old. I hated it, but I went for 7 years. And when I walked out of there, I didn't know what to talk about, but I knew I had skills, but I didn't have something to talk about. But then when I became a monk, I had something to talk about. So I found the passion with the skills, because skills aren't good enough. What are you gonna do with it? And so I really believe in people nurturing their abilities and people investing in their abilities and people realizing that it's possible for them. Is it possible for me to be a basketball player or a football player? No, right? Physically, I'm not even in the 50th percentile, like I'm 90%, like, right? Like I'm like, I can't, right? There are certain things I just can't do. So I've got to be honest about that. But that's mainly sports, which requires a physicality to it. Or if you're a singer, but there's some singers who can't sing that well too. So, you know, it's like, there's a lot of careers where sports is probably the one that you just can't mess around with, right? But then you get people like Allen Iverson, like, you know, you get a few players who don't really fit the bill. And that's exception. They're not the rule, they're the exception, where they don't have the physicality, but they're just talented. So I agree, I think sports is one of those things you can't break into if you don't have something you're born with. But 99% of other things, there's not many things that feel the same way as sports.
Jay, throughout the collection process of you discovering your purpose, what was your biggest pivot? That's that one moment, and we always ask all of our guests, this is the one moment you can look back on and say, without this happening to me or for me, I wouldn't be who I am today.
So the reason why I love the name of the podcast is because my life is full of pivots. There's not one, everything's a pivot.
Yeah.
So instead of getting a corporate job, which I was destined to get, I decided to become a monk. That was a pivot. Then, when I was meant to be a monk, I thought I was gonna be a monk for the rest of my life, but I left because it didn't feel right anymore. That was a pivot. Went back to the corporate world. I was just about getting steady in my job. I was gonna get married to my wife, and I went, this isn't my purpose, I'm gonna leave. That was a pivot. Started making videos. When I started making videos, I made these 4-minute videos, they went viral. I wanted to launch a podcast, and every podcast company said, don't do a podcast, people wanna listen to you for 4 minutes, no one wants to listen to you for an hour. So I did it, that was a pivot. Then I had a hit podcast, I wanted to write a book. 14 out of 17 publishers said, don't call it Think Like a Monk, no one wants to think like a monk. I wrote the book anyway, that was a pivot. Then so it's like, my life has just been full of pivots. I actually think all I care about is pivots. I don't actually want to be ever not pivoting, because that's what we all have to do. And I think the longer you take to pivot, the harder it gets. There's a beautiful quote I read the other day that I love, and it says, the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive it is to get back home.
Yeah.
And so actually, the more you pivot, because I started pivoting when I became a monk at 21, 22 years old, because I pivoted that early, I've got so comfortable pivoting. So I would encourage everyone to not be scared of the pivot, because the pivot becomes the platform that creates the next moment of your purpose. Whereas if you stay where you are, that's what kind of crushes everything. And you get more scared to move the more years go by. And so I just keep pivoting. Even now, like, you know, we're trying to do, I mean, we've been talking about this. We're doing TV and film, we're doing production, we're doing all this stuff. And in one sense, someone said, well, Jay, what qualification do you have? I'm like, I just got to keep pivoting. Life's full of pivots. And I've learned that when I look back at my life, the best decisions I made were pivots. They weren't staying in the same place. That was never the good decision. So to answer your question, yeah, I've got a million pivots, and I hope there's a million more that surprise everyone. And I'm just collecting experiences. You know, today I get to sit with you guys. Like, how dope is this? Like, you know, I get to sit with all of you from this world. I was laughing at my life. I was like, you were talking about, like, I was in Bad Boys like a year ago, sitting here with you guys today. Yesterday I was with Carmelo Anthony. Then I was with a mindfulness expert. Then my monk teacher's coming into LA to live with me for 2 weeks on Sunday. And my life is just made up of me collecting the random, and I want to die having just had these beautiful exchanges, meaningful exchanges with people that I maybe would never have crossed paths with, all because I was trying to help people. And how beautiful is that? Why would I say no to having the opportunity to have this rich life of experiences? And I think when you get lost in your cocoon and your echo chamber and your little world, which we all do, you miss out on the joy that comes from, you know, I remember when Ryan realized that I listened to the game, and that was like a big moment for him. And I was like, yeah, like all we did growing up in London was listen to American rap and hip hop. That's all we did. And you wouldn't know that from the way we dress, the way we look, from where we come from. But when you can find commonalities and similarities, you know, the black monk, like who would have known? You know, it's like...
Hey, it's official now.
Man, we never getting away from this.
Jay
now.
called me the black monk too?
Come on, Jay. You can leave. We gotta stay around him.
But who would have ever thought that a professional athlete, a former American football player who's had so much success in his career would call himself the black monk? Like, just, I would never have guessed that in a million years. And that's the beauty of this amazing life that we live. Yeah. That me and Ryan could sit and have something in common when we're so different, have such different backgrounds and different upbringings. We can both like the game and both like the idea of being monks. Like, that is I love that. That's what makes life beautiful.
I actually, and not a Hindu monastery, but I actually spent a lot of time in a Greek Orthodox Christian monastery with Troy Polamalu. And the life was fascinating because those people seemed like the most authentic humans in the world. They were 100% comfortable in who they were. And so I understand when you say you met your monk teacher, you're like, I want that.
Yeah.
Like whatever that thing is, that's what I want. And you know, you mentioned commonalities. I'm excited. We're working on something now. I'm excited about continuing to move forward in that. I do have one last question.
Yeah.
I have like a million of them, but we'll talk about them off air one day. You know, you mentioned pivoting, that your entire life has been a pivot. And when you decide that you're gonna dedicate your life and to the monastic lifestyle, that's a forever change. And you had to move out of that to move into something else that continued to move you towards your purpose. How do people decipher whether moving on or quitting or changing careers or letting a relationship go is a pivot instead of a failure?
What's interesting about that question is that it's actually all in your head, because what you label it as is what it becomes. So when I left the monastery, I thought it was a failure. And guess what? That's what it was then. It was a failure. Now when I look back, I see it as a pivot. And often when you're making the decision, it feels like a failure in the moment. More often than not, it will feel like a failure in the moment. But when you look back, you'll see it as a pivot. Because what you realize is that if you keep seeing it as a failure, you'll keep failing. And when I left the monastery and felt like a failure, which I did, I realized that at one point that mindset didn't serve me anymore. There was only so much I could feel sorry for myself. There's only so much I could pity myself. There's only so much I could feel like I wish I was still there. And I had to own my life and take responsibility and say, what did I love about it? I loved the fact that I got to study wisdom and share it. I loved the fact that we woke up early and we meditated. I loved the fact that we had a routine that made me feel good. Guess what? I can do that all now. I can still do that. I can still build that into my life. That's why I wrote the book, Think Like a Monk, Not Live Like a Monk, because I'm not living like a monk anymore, but I'm still thinking like one. So to me, it's all about how you label it. And chances are you will always label the end of something as a failure. Because again, society has conditioned you to believe that ending something or leaving something incomplete is a failure. So you will in the moment always think it's a failure. But the quicker you realize it's a pivot, the more you'll move towards your purpose. And so I would just encourage anyone to say if something's no longer serving you, if something's no longer fulfilling you, if you've tried everything you possibly can and you can't save, fix, or solve this thing, let it be. You will feel like a failure, expect it, and then pivot. Allow yourself to feel like a failure and then pivot.
Our mantra here is accept, adjust, and move forward. And also realize it's never too late to pivot.
Never too late to pivot, I love that.
So the tour, that's the reason we were able to catch you here in New York. Just for people who are looking to tap in, people who want to get an opportunity to lay eyes on Jay Shetty and absorb some of that wisdom, but also experience some of the things you've experienced. Where are you going? How do they do that? How do they tap in?
Yeah, I'm really excited. For the first time ever, we're doing a podcast tour. So we have 15 cities, 15 surprise guests across North America and Canada. I'll be interviewing people's favorites from the show, some new ones as well. And what I'm really excited about, if I'm honest, is it's gonna be walking into a room where when you look left and right, the person next to you listens to the same thing you do. So the amount you have in common with the people around you is huge. There's very few places in the world that we go into anymore where you feel connected to someone before you walk into the room. Now you can walk in and the person next to you has a favorite episode, you have a favorite episode, the energy is gonna be electric. And I'm gonna be sharing wisdom and insights that we haven't before. I think there's something special about memories that are made in person. In New York, we're gonna be at the theater at MSG, so that's gonna be incredible. In LA, we're at the Greek Theater, which is beautiful. Then we're going Chicago, Dallas, Florida, Seattle, Vancouver, Toronto, Colorado, Philadelphia. So we're doing 15 cities, and you can go to jayshetty.me/tour, and you'll find all the dates, all the tickets. And I hope people come out and leave with a connection with other people. That's my goal. I think we're all looking for, I'm hoping people come there and leave with a date, right? Like it's like, you see someone you like, they care about the same stuff you do. Yeah. So, how rare it is to go to a place where people care about the same thing you do. They're listening to the same show. You could leave with a date. You could leave with a proposal.
See, it's like Match.com in person.
In person.
You created it, and now you're bringing everybody together to do it.
Yeah.
Nah, Jay, this was amazing, man. This is something we've been wanting to do for a while. If I'm being honest, it's something that I didn't think was possible a while ago. But to meet you, man, to get to understand you a little better personally, and then now to sit with you, you truly are everything you seem to be from the outside, man. So best of luck on the tour. Can't wait to work with you further, but this was amazing.
Now, all of you, when I met you in person, you're like big scary dudes, But it's like, you guys, just the kindness, the genuineness, the curiosity, the depth of the questioning. I love the skepticism, and that's important, right? You need that. I think it's great when people push back and question and check and, reflect on stuff. And, I was blown away, Ryan, by your hospitality, your kindness. When I came out to the game to meet you, all the Zoom calls we've had, I've really been humbled by how grounded and humble you are.
Man,
it's so rare in this world to meet someone who's operating at the top of their game, but is willing to make everyone else feel like a star.
Appreciate it.
You do that. Watching you in your element of literally being on TV, jumping off in between, me and you having deep conversations on the sideline, jumping back on and off, watching you do that. You're magnificent at what you do.
Thank you, brother.
But I was more impressed by who you were in just connecting. And so I want the world to know that you're even better in person. Congrats on the Emmy nomination. You deserve it.
Thank you.
You deserve to win it. And on top of all of that, it's just great to be around great men and great people. I think being around great men is something a lot of men need right now. And it's amazing that all of you are setting such an awesome example of what men can aspire to do, especially men who want to be powerful, make an impact, but then have a deep and good heart as well. So thank you for the example you're setting for men.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Thank you, man.
man.
You guys are the best.
Cool.
You guys are awesome. I mean it. I mean every word.
Sure,
I
appreciate
mean every
you, brother.
word, man.
Sure.
You guys are the
That's
best.
crazy, man.
You guys are the best. No,
That
you
was
guys
really
are
cool.
Appreciate you, brother.
That's
So what
really
is this, man? Is this custom?
No. This is a brand that I love out of France
Yeah,
called
that's
La
nice.
Mer. It's probably one of my favorite brands. They make
That's nice.
they make good.
Yeah, Shane, he got more muscles than you.
Yeah, he got more
Everybody
muscle
got
than me.
more muscle.
He get paid to have muscle.
Hey, you good?
What's up, family? How you doing, man?
That's your reason for it, bro?
Bro, yes. I worked out for 17 years to get paid. Then I got paid. What? Why am I working out anymore?
So when they stop paying, you stop working out.
Yes. I'm not going in the gym 6 a.m. and not make no money for who? For
Why
what?
6 a.m. though? If you go 6 p.m. though.
But I just don't like to work too. I done drank a bottle of wine by 6 p.m. I can't go to no
My fault.
gym.
Walk-in star, Jalen Johnson, Chicago Bears, All-Pro, Pro Bowl corner. This is Channing Crowder. This is Fred Taylor. I'm Ryan Clark, Pivot fam. Thank y'all for pivoting with us. Speaking of walk-ins, bro, on Monday night, you walked into the stadium in a skirt. Like I saw the cats in Atlanta was wearing like the mini skirts and the ruffles. So it made it all the way to the NFL now?
Yeah. Nah, it was some inspiration I honestly got. I looked at a few fashion shows and I seen it and I was gonna do a different color. The first color didn't work. So I ended up switching to the backup. So the gray, red, and navy blue joint was a go-to, but I wouldn't even call it a skirt though. I definitely had some shorts on, but the guy who made it for me, he made of course, the cover part for me. So it was a little button we had to kind of button it together. But I wasn't in a true skirt, man. I still had my shorts on for sure.
So guys out, thighs out.
No. It was right. It was right above the knee. It was still
But-
fashionable.
The fashion of the skirt. What is that?
No. It was still masculine. It wasn't just like it wasn't like I had all my thighs out. No. It's still masculine. I make sure I keep my line there for sure.
And he made sure too though, it was cut like a vest though.
Yeah,
So he
yeah,
made sure
okay,
the
it
guns
was,
was out. Like it wasn't.
No, and I still had
Okay,
the
he had on
G-Fazos on. So,
You had on like a onesie almost.
No.
Don't listen to him, bro.
I know how you go to bed and stuff. You wear the onesies.
Yeah,
It's
no
all
question.
good.
What would the homies back in Fresno say? That's all that matters.
They'll say I put it on.
Okay.
I mean, I think for me, it's one of those things where it's like I like to be different, and one of those things where it's like everybody kind of just wears the designer looks. That fit was something I was working on for about 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
Where I had a guy who did my SP suit a few years ago, and I contacted him, and then I was like, hey, bro, I need some help kind of creating something. So came to the house a few times. We went over some looks, went over some fabrics, materials, and he did a heck of a job.
So everybody that sit in that seat that got a fashion sense and think they really put it on,
Yeah.
I always got to ask them, what would your game and what would your fits or pieces look like compared to what y'all see RC do? Who the best?
You trying to say this, can he outdress me?
Basically, in a
I'm
nutshell.
45.
In a nutshell.
I think the swag is different in a way where I would say, as far as TV swag, I would put him at one, for sure. I would say as far as like suits, and I know definitely with the RC that he had, the pen, I like that.
Okay.
I would definitely say the combination of the suits, I would say the colors, things
But
like
in the
that.
head up, don't run from it. In the head up.
No. It's two different categories though. It's two different because I mean, again, I'm dressing to put on a show. I'm dressing to capture everybody's attention. I feel like his, at times, is more subtle, is more professional in a way. So I mean,
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
different looks. It's different looks.
RC got to try to dress though.
Yeah, no.
So y'all got to put dress versus dress.
You say I gotta put a dress on?
You gotta put dress versus
My
dress.
dog told
He
you.
talking about dress. I thought he was talking about like dressing up. He talking about actual dress. Nah.
Jay, man, to get away from that, I remember that night before the game, you're walking in and Adam Schefter is talking about it. And I just made the joke. I was like, shoot, don't nobody come to the game that clean to watch.
got to go, yeah,
You know what I
no
mean?
doubt.
You know, you were injured, you were banged up. Headed into this weekend's game, how do you feel?
Ready to go.
Ready to go?
Yeah, nah, the injury honestly hurt me more than physically. It hurt me mentally. And one of those things where it's like, yeah, of course, 2-time Pro Bowler 2 years in a row. But for me, I felt like there's still a lot left out there for me to prove. So really just training, had my first offseason in Vegas. So training at UNLV, training all different spots, really pushing my body. And then the last week of training, one of my last days, brought my adductor off my pelvic bone. Damn. So it's like when I immediately did it, I felt it. And I'm like, nah, this ain't right. And I was telling my wife, like, nah, babe, I think it's kind of bad. And kind of just heading into it, she was like, you gonna be okay or whatever, and giving me the wife talk and support. But I'm just like, I feel like God trying to really test me in a way of like, when you think you going in the right spot, it's like, nah, I have something better for her. I can see further ahead for you. And I'm just like, man, God, that's a heck of a way to wake me up. Or like, that's a heck of a way to test me. But really just throughout this whole process of camp, it has given me a lot of insight, I would say, in how guys approach the game. And for me, you can't really tell until you get out of it. And it's like, I really missed it. And I was in Ben's hip pocket all the time, trying to get to practice, trying to see practice, begging him to get to the joint practices, things like that. But it's like, it really tested me mentally and really just made me hungry for the game again. And everything I've done, I mean, I've been doing 2 and 3 sessions a day, almost every day for the last 7-8 weeks now. So I'm definitely in a good spot now.
How hard is it to watch the way the first game ended? You know, you guys were up on Minnesota. I saw how happy you were when they got the pick six, right? They had the camera on you. And then to watch J.J. McCarthy find himself, you know, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, you know, he's running into the end zone. How difficult is it when you are that premier player on the defensive side of the ball? You have had these accomplishments, and it's primetime football week 1. How hard was it for you to have to watch your team lose?
It was extremely tough because for me, it was like, okay, things are finally starting to change in the first half. Okay, we got Ben, offense is looking good, defense is flying around. We had like 3 3-and-outs, I think, in the first half. And we're like, okay, like, for me, I'm starting to kind of erase the memories of the Bad News Bears previously that I've been a part of. And it's like, okay, and you start seeing it kind of slip slowly but surely. And it's like, man, I know we ain't going down this path again. And it's like, for me, too, when I know I can make an impact, especially with having Justin score a touchdown, it's like, man, that's the matchup I was freaking training for. That's one of those things where it's like, when I'm doing conditioning, I'm envisioning him. I'm envisioning covering him in that fourth quarter and things like that. So it's definitely hurt from that perspective, knowing that covering guys like him and the gauntlet that I'm going to go against this year is the reason why I really train and do the things I do, push my body the way I do. So it definitely hurt in that way for sure, that I couldn't be there to help the team.
And Jay, you said working out 2-3 times a day, and I don't know if it's fantasy football or whatever, but even when we played, there was no fantasy for Fred. Fred's 100. But like they don't understand, like when you did the abductor and all that, how hard you want to play,
100%,
what you were
100%.
doing on a daily basis to get back. And I say, God, like, you have to heal.
Yeah,
what did you do to get back? Because, like you say, bro, you're an all-pro corner. I'm watching the Minnesota game. I'm like, nah, they ain't doing that to Jay.
Yeah,
no. I would love to see that
Yeah.
matchup. So what did you do on a daily basis?
For one, the worst thing, I had 7 a.m. treatment every day. Even off days, it moved to 9, so we got a little bit of sleep. But for me, it was 7 a.m. treatment. It really, in the beginning phase, of course, trying to get all the inflammation out. And then I would still go to all the meetings. After meetings, I would come get more treatment, go lift during practice. After practice, come back in, get more treatment. So I was really getting, I would say, about 3 different sessions with a lift in pretty much every day, maybe except for the off day. And they kind of let me chill a little bit. But for the most part, it was really 3 and 4 sessions, including the weight room. And then once I got back into moving around, it was really the same thing. And now the weight room, and then sometime in the morning, I would go run, start incorporating my running, my change of direction, things like that. So it really got more intense. And of course, and even in the weight room, after the weight room, we'll lift and then go get on the assault bikes. And it's like, those make a man out you for sure, especially when you're trying to get back in shape. The assault bikes, the Versa climbers, all that type of stuff. So it really just me trying to get back in shape, get back stronger. Really, I just attack those. Like, my practice is like my fall camp where I can go in there. It's like, it's 95 degrees, it's humid or whatever. The guys out there working, least I can do is bust my ass on this Versa climber and do what I can do to get back into shape, to get prepared.
I actually tore my groin out the bone too, so I know exactly what you've been through. I know we'll get back to present, but take us back to Fresno, man. I know I asked you about it. How did that environment shape you? You know, your dad and your brother both played DBs. You saw them. How did that environment shape you, and sort of what were you able to take away from them?
Work was honestly the biggest thing for me. I know My dad, he's worked the same job, correctional officer, for I want to say about 30 years. So all I know from him is work. From my brother, from 8 years old, hard-working 8-year-old. And it's like, for me, I'm 4, and I'm kind of growing up like, okay, yeah, it just is what it is. And then through time, as he elevated himself, elevated his game, it was just like, nah, this is what it takes to get where I want to go. And he had 25 plus offers coming out of high school. He was top DB, went to UCLA. My dad, of course, set the tone going to Fresno State, played there. So for me, it was, as far as the family dynamic goes, it was all about work. Like, whatever it is, my pops told us straight up, like, I ain't got no money, no, I ain't got no college fund set up for you. Whatever you want to do, if you want to go to JUCO, that's on you. But if you want to make something work for yourself, you got to go get it. So, I mean, for me, that was really all I knew from my pops. But I would just say Fresno was somewhat on the other side of that. And you had a lot of opportunities to go left. And I think for me, not even I think, I know that if it wasn't for God and his hand on me, I could be in a totally different direction. And I say that because I know once my family split, or my parents split when I was like maybe 9, kind of transitioning into middle school, elementary school, that's when things start to shift, identities start to kind of be found in ways. The kids that I played on my Pop Warner team starting to go down the wrong path, and it's like things like that you start to see from the city is definitely something that I could have indulged in. And my dad, of course, being a correctional officer, he was always hard on me. He was tough on me. He used to whoop us with the damn leather work belt. So I mean, I knew what a good whooping looked and felt like. But I think for me, I made a commitment early to myself that I wanted different for myself. I wanted different for my family. And with those examples, like I said, with my dad, my brother, it was like, nah, I just got to work. I gotta flip that switch.
Right. So seeing that hard work and having avoided those pitfalls that could potentially have come
100%.
with the city of Fresno, what was more gratifying, hearing your name called on draft night, or the re-up, signing that big ass deal?
Ooh.
I'll probably say the re-up. I think draft night, I was too mad. I went
I was just about to
at
ask you
50.
about
Yeah,
that.
and I feel like, honestly, for me, I think it was more so my shoulder. I had just had shoulder surgery.
Right.
So it was, I think it was a lot of uncertainty around that. But either way it went, I was definitely still, I was high. I was a little dressed up the first night, and I was like, man, damn, now I'm coming in a regular fit this time, and I'm going to just wait for my name to get called, hopefully. But I would definitely say the contract. But even in that, I think, too, transparently speaking, I felt like it was a good deal, but I would definitely say that I felt like there was more out there to get. And I think that still drives me in that way of, like, when I look at myself in the mirror, I look at myself as a top guy. And it's like, when I got paid, of course, it was life-changing money. It was something that I can set my family up for the rest of their lives. But for me, I'm still hunting that top spot. So I think even within that, it's like, okay, yeah, I got it. I'll be able to do some things or whatever, buy a new house, get some new stuff, things like that. But for me, it's like, nah, I'm trying to still get that top spot.
Can you talk about that? I think that's a conversation, we have on this show, but that's not often had, is when you get a deal, there's going to be somebody the next month or the next year that's the same level of player or whatever it is, and that player gets the next level of money. But we've seen, since you've got your deal, Pat Surtain, he sets the market. Jalen Ramsey gets more money, but now we've seen Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner. When you talk about the top spot, is it the top spot in the field of people perceive you as the number one corner, or is it the top spot in the sense of not only am I perceived as the number one corner, I'm paid as the number one corner in the NFL as well?
I would say that I think the biggest thing for me is impact. And I feel like if you look at your number one guys, I feel like all of those guys, I mean, even J.C. Horn, he's Carolina's number one guy, and he reset the market. And I think, too, we're at a point where it's not just, okay, are you better than him? But it's like, I'm the top guy on our team, and I'm the top guy amongst the league. So I think for me, it's one of those things where if their top guy on his team can get top money, top guy on that team gets top money, there's no reason why the top guy on our team shouldn't get that same money. And for me being a homegrown kid, for me going through now 3 regimes, still being able to produce, still being able to make the plays that I made, unhealthy, hurt, fighting through injuries, and things like that, all Pro Bowl seasons, I think there's nothing left to question. But I think for me, I always find some motivation in it to where it's like, nah, okay, clearly the people within my building don't see me or view me how I think they should see me and view me. And then, of course, amongst the league, I feel like there's still some doubt. So for me, that's really the biggest thing I'm trying to prove is, of course, myself right always. But I feel like at a certain time, it's like I gotta pop my shit to other people to where they know like what it is.
And bro, we talked to D-Mo and Gibbs, the Detroit running back.
Yeah, for sure. D-Mo, my dog.
Them two. and J Ram, who's OG
Yeah,
now.
that's him, yeah.
He
He
that
definitely-
motherfucker went crazy there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
He said it when we talked to him, Chan. He was like, "Nah, I'm finna show him. I'm still
Yeah,
that."
yeah, you got to, yeah.
But it's funny that you say, like, y'all watch the market. And y'all know that I can't take nothing less because that's going to mess up a dude that plays in anywhere, San Diego, Carolina, wherever.
Right.
Like, if I don't push the envelope, I'm messing up the corner market like Demo and Gibbs were talking about. They were like, we need to reset this. Saquon went out there and got his money and they were like, y'all think about that. I don't know if it's the communication and we're just old, but I never talked to other linebackers when my deal was up. Do y'all understand that now as a I guess a progressive player union?
I think it's one of those things where people have different mindsets when it comes to contracts. And I think people a lot of times can go for APY. A lot of times people can go for guaranteed money. They can go for the length of the deal. Some people want shorter, 3 years. Some people may want longer, 5-year deals. I think that impacts the value of your contract. I think it's easy. Okay, yeah, let me make me the highest paid, and my guarantees are bottom 10. And it's like, that's not a good deal for me. I think then that was one of the good things I feel like about my deal was, yeah, my APY was somewhere in the middle, but I think my guaranteed, even now to this point, I think I'm still at least top 3 in a lot of the new deals that have been made as far as guaranteed money, especially in the first year, the first 2 years, things like that. So I would say that was the good part about my deal. But I think I'd much rather get guaranteed money and make my money than go and get the top paid spot. And so, yeah, I'm making $35 million a year on paper, but I only take home X amount of money. So I think it really just depends on your viewpoint in it.
Yeah, you came in as a day one starter. Take us through your welcome to the league moment when you knew you had to be matched up versus the wide receiver ones every Sunday.
I
You
would
was
say,
like, I'm here.
yeah, I would say that started I would say my first year. Mike Evans was damn good. My first year when I played him. Mike Evans, Tom Brady. I think it was Thursday Night Football. That was my first touchdown too. I think I gave up that year. But I would say even after that, my second year is when I started matching up against guys. Odell Beckham was my first matchup when he came back from his injury in Cleveland in 2021. But for me, that was what I did in college. So I was used to doing that for about 2 years. In college, coming to the league, of course, Kyle Fuller was the vet my rookie year. And then taking that over, it was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm brought
here. To be fair, though, you was at Utah.
Yeah, no doubt.
In the league, you seeing something different every week.
What does that mean?
Because
Utah is big time football.
But it ain't SEC football.
I'm not.
I ain't no knock.
I ain't debating that. I ain't debating that.
I ain't knocking your
Yeah,
skill
no doubt,
either.
no doubt, no doubt.
I'm not
Jay, I
knocking
was just
your
being
skill
petty.
set. Yeah, you being messy. But nah, I'm definitely not knocking
No,
your
I got
skill set because I know what you made of. I'm just saying, like, when you come to the league, you're like, it ain't just the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm here. It's like, I got to do it this week. I got to do it again.
For sure.
I got to do it again and again. And when they demand it like you as a number one, you got to follow the number one. So that moment when you realize, shit, my job is what his job is. We just on a different side.
100%. I think, honestly, the way I process it is like I've been doing that my whole life as far as being a smaller name guy coming from a smaller city and having to go and play the kids from LA, going and play those kids in Texas and Florida. Right. So it's like for me, I've been even on basketball circuit, I was on the Under Armour circuit and things like that. So it's like I've been playing in these matchups my whole life. So it's like now because it's Odell Beckham, now because it's Amari Cooper, I'm not looking at them any kind of way. Of course, at times it's like, damn, that's really him. But it's like, as soon as I think that, it's like, okay, but now I got to bust his ass, and I got to get back in that mode. But I think for me, it's like I'm used to winning those matchups and going through those battles just from a young age.
You know, you come in, and I think this is the third regime you've had, and so it's Matt Nagy, it's to Eberflus, and now it's to Ben Johnson. I don't want to really talk about the past, but I do want to ask, what is it that has given you confidence that Ben Johnson can be the guy now in Chicago?
I think you can tell a lot about a man by, I would say, his consistency and how he shows up. You can feel his intensity. You can feel his authentic self. And I think a lot of times coaches are always coming with the rah-rah speeches. Coaches are always going to have those type of things to say. But I think they don't live those things out. A lot of the time they want you to live it out, but they don't live that out. I think one thing from talking to him a few times is I feel like he lives that out. And of course, being able to play against him a few times, it's like, nah, they really trying to put up like 40 on that. They trying to embarrass you. Like it's a real thing. And it's like he tells a story, of course, about how he grew up and his dad and things like that. it's not just really for us about winning. It's like, no, you have to really like embarrass them and like really like make them have no second thoughts and about the game, about the result. And it's like, that's how he coaches. And it's like from the jump in off season, people were calling me, texting me, like, hey man, he different. Like he getting on Caleb, he getting on the defense, like all these different things. And it's like, we never had that. We never had a certain level of accountability and a certain level of transparency where it's like, nah, if you want to get to the championship, this is how those championship teams practice. This is how those championship teams play. This is how they watch film. This is how they go about doing business. So I think for us, having a championship coaching staff with, of course, Dennis Allen winning and coaching in those Super Bowls and things like that, he has, and I also credit them too, is he built a heck of a staff as well to where he can focus on the offense and then Dennis Allen can focus on the defense. Because, I mean, he was just a head coach, so he knows how to run a unit. He knows how to run a team. So I think they all collectively do a heck of a job.
You say you brought up Caleb. Caleb done been on the show before.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool dude.
Yeah.
Cool. He a California guy like yourself. Y'all
He's from DC. He went to
DC,
USC.
But that USC, I don't know what they put you in with. Y'all run the room and just with the shoulder wiggles and all.
I got you.
Hey,
But that's that. What's the Nuke thing?
I'm a Kappa, yeah.
Yeah, all that.
What's the Caleb thing?
No, the Kappas, they wiggle, they wiggle their body a lot. They worm. The Kappas
they
worm
do,
a lot. Yeah, that ain't very masculine to me, like you said. Yeah, that's
Continue, man.
That's a feminine dress.
This is about Jalen.
But Caleb's a big part of this. When
No
we
doubt.
played, you could have what was 09? Y'all's defense, y'all stupid defense.
Yeah, it was number one.
09. What was that? 2002 Buccaneers, 2000 Ravens. Like to choke somebody to death.
Yeah.
Can't
to
do that no more.
13. You can't do it no more.
For sure.
Your quarterback got a ball. You've played the best. You brought up Brady already. I know you done played the dogs. Caleb can spin it,
100%.
but is Caleb progressing to a level of playoff quarterback? Like, where do you see him? Talent's there. We all know that.
Right.
Where is he moving to?
That's tough. Honestly, I wouldn't want to dip my hand in something that's not mine in a way of like, I don't know what that looks like. Because, I mean, respectfully, before him, we had Justin. He didn't really get opportunity to really show too much. Quarterbacks before, we had Nick Foles. We had Mitch Trubisky. I mean, I've been through a lot of quarterbacks. So it's like, I don't know what that looks like on a day-to-day. I don't know what that looks like mentally, of course, playing them, looking at it through the TV. It's like, nah, Tom, he's cool, calm, collective. He always gets through 2-minute drives. Patrick Mahomes, like...
Different when you're in the building.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's different when you can actually see it. I know talking to some guys that have, it's like, I know Mike Pennell, he's with KC, D lineman. He came from KC to the Bears, and he was just like, bro, he's different. But it's like, I can never really understand what he's talking about. Yeah. But he was just like, the way that they operate, the way that he operates, we always truly like believe because he's that guy, and like we see him putting in a certain level of work. And I think even beyond putting in a level of work, I feel like some guys' makeup is just a little different. And I feel like for me, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I see him doing it or I see him not doing it. I know he's definitely taking steps. I definitely see his car in a lot longer than it was. Definitely see him taking those steps. But I couldn't just say, oh yeah, he's progressing to be a TB, and I ain't never really know what TB put in.
There ain't many TBs.
Yeah, I was say I can't speak to that.
It was one of them. When you mentioned Ben Johnson, it made me think of the fake fumble. Right? Did you ever ask him about that? Did you say, hey, Ben, what was it about us that made you think faking fumbling the ball and having a wide lead?
I would have if I didn't see the little video they put out. Because I think that was when Jared Goff did the quarterback thing.
Yeah.
So I seen the video. So when I'm watching, I'm like, at first, like on the field, of course, I was covering my guy, and I just see him open. I'm like, dang, what happened? And it was like, we thought they fumbled. So it was like, in the game, whatever, we really thought they like fumbled and picked the ball up. So we like, whatever, fluke pay. We go to watch the film. We like, bro, ain't no way he faked a fumble. And then the video came out, and we just like, who thinks of that? But to the point, it did happen against Green Bay, and Buddy was wide open. It was like the fact that he was that detailed, the fact that he was that creative to go back and look at what will get these guys to bite up on this run fake. That was the best thing I've ever seen. I feel like as far as play calling creativity.
Yeah.
So you wore 33. Another great Bear made the the Bears top 100. Peanut Tillman. But you recently switched. Have you been able to spend much time with Peanut?
No, not really. The most I know, he'll come to practice a few times and just talk, pick his brain. I would say the most that stands out, I would say, is our play style is a lot different. So I think for me, it's like understanding. I won't even say understanding. I think being ball conscious. And I feel like for me, like coming out of college, I'm thinking ball conscious, interceptions, breaking the ball up. But it's like, nah, you got to start like punching, trying to find ways to impact the game and punch the ball out. And it's like, I didn't think like to go punch the ball. I'm trying to tackle the dude. Forget that ball. If it come out, it come out. But for him and them, of course, showing all the highlights, it's like there's really opportunities to make plays out here. And it's like talking to him, it's like, nah, it's all about it's really all about the ball. And I think that was something that he always emphasized was different ways to get to the ball, different ways to. I mean, he's different physically, mentally. I mean, he was showing me some damn ways to get off the path or the run block and do this and break his arm here. I'm like, Pena, I'm not trying to do all that. Like, I'll give him a long arm or something, but it's just like he's trying to do all these different things to where he can go get to the ball, try to punch the ball out and do what he does best. But I would say for me, that was something that got my wheels turning as far as being able to impact the game. But for me, I like the covering part of it.
You won't be getting off the blocks like Jaylon did in week 1?
Nah, I'm not saying I get stuck on blocks, but I think the way you get off of them is a little different. But for me, I think it's a pride thing when guys come to block me. I feel like it's the unspoken, like, manly competition going on in that way. It's like, nah, I gotta let you know you can't put your hands on me like that.
Fellas, big picks, big prizes. Toyota is all in with epic giveaways for the fans all season long.
Yeah, man, Toyota is giving fans a chance to win rewards on game day while elevating Team Toyota athletes.
All you got to do is predict the big plays happening every week that football is played. You're going to get gift cards. Jersey Mike's, my favorite sub. You got the Marriott. You got NFL Shop. We're going to watch out for you.
And I'll be tapping in Sunday to watch Vikings-Falcons with the chance to win a Uber gift card for $150.
Don't miss out. For more information on how to participate, you got to go to toyota.com/NFL. Get all your information there on how to win these great prizes. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Ends on February 8th, 2026. Open to legal residents of the 50 U.S. states and D.C. 18 and over. For complete details, how to enter, prizes, and official rules, visit www.toyotasgamedaygiveaways.com. Bring up J Ram, because he was on. We tried a training camp tour. Kind of getting, we're done with it now, but, you saw it. Where he was saying he enjoys outside, going to the nickel, going back to say he wants to move around.
Yeah.
How you feel about that position change and moving around? Because some corner, I know Revis was the dude when we played. Revis going to lock up outside all day long. How you feel about the position change and moving around and all that?
I'm definitely more the Revis. Just keep me outside. And I think for me, it's style of play is a big thing. We all knew Jalen Ramsey was a heck of a tackler. We always knew he had ball skills. So it's like somebody like that you can put at safety because he can still come down and tackle. He can still make fit, and he's a physical specimen for real. So it's like he can be in that box and shed those old linemen and still make plays. He can do all of it, see it, and of course he's been around the game a long time now, where it's like he already has outside on lock, and now it's like through the years he transitioned to getting some nickel, and then really just learning defenses. I feel like his IQ has allowed him to start playing that safety, that dime position. But that definitely comes with turns. That's not something I think anybody should start out trying to play all these positions. Like, now you got to master one first. And I feel like he earned that right.
You talked about Jettas scoring a touchdown in the fourth quarter. This week, it's the Lions.
Yeah.
It's such a different matchup because you don't have a ton of film with them with Johnny Moe
100%.
as the coordinator, right? You got the 1 week in Green Bay. There was a struggle against that defense. But still on that team, man, there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's an all-pro player. There's J-Mo Williams. He just got his money. Both teams headed into this matchup 0-1. How important is it for you guys to go there and find a way to get a W?
I think it's very important, but I think it starts with a mental commitment. I think going into that environment like that, especially with going back, I wouldn't say home, I guess, but going back home to Detroit, is definitely going to be, I would say, a mental commitment to strain. And I think in that way, because, for them, they pride themselves on toughness and all that. So we got to really go in there and we got to outdo that. And that's not going to be a comfortable thing to do. And I think not only is it going to be physical, but the mental strain that we got to get over the hump of, because clearly that's been the biggest thing for us. We've been in tight games all throughout last year, throughout this year, of course, to start off the season, giving away the lead that we had. So it's really just about, I would say, mental commitment to the physical strain and the mental strain. But I don't think it's really, as far as matchups goes, I feel like it's whatever in that way.
Who you jumping on?
I'll probably say whoever come to my side. I don't think it's somebody I gotta go follow.
Cause that damn my Rob.
I'm gonna Ra. St. Brown.
What about him?
We went to practice. I thought this motherfucker was Jerry Rice.
Yeah, you went to the Miami one?
Yeah. We was, man. Hey. No, Jay.
Yeah,
He
no.
was every ball. Why he gonna
Hey,
catch
it got
every
ugly.
ball?
He was killing.
It got to a point.
He was killing.
It got to a point where he'd take a one-on-one rep, catch the ball. By the time he ran back, he was back
up
for the
again.
next
Yeah,
one.
100%.
Like you know how it
Get
is
the
when,
other receivers.
when you start feeling good though.
Yeah, you start trying to go.
Yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, you start trying to go. But I think, I listened to you talk about wanting to get the top spot, a mental commitment to strain, to push. How do you feel as an organization you guys have been as it pertains to those traits of winning throughout your time here in the other regimes?
I would probably say this. I mean, of course, my first regime I got drafted into. Young, learning it. The staff got fired after my second year. I would definitely say as far as hirings go, as far as it being different, I would definitely say this year feels a lot different. I think just feeling the vibe of things trying to move and change in the right direction. I think not only getting Ben, but doing what it takes to get Ben, I think was a step in the right direction. Of course, paying him the amount of money that he got, that's showing that we're trying to do some things. But I think really it starts up top, the tradition and things like that, but I feel like it really goes into the locker room. I think it's one of those things for us where we're still trying to figure out how to take it over and still trying to figure out how to we have a tight-knit locker room, but I think we all got to get on the same page of hunger to win. Wow. And I think I only bring Detroit up because they had a new regime come in and they were talking about different things, but I feel like you definitely can see the team buy into that new, what they say, grit over there. So it's like finding that for themselves. I think for us, we have to find what it looks like for ourselves in our locker room. Because, I mean, the coach can come in. I mean, we had, when Coach Flus was here, the hits principal and everybody was, okay, yeah, this is what we need. We need tough football back. And it didn't work out. Yeah. And it's like now with Ben having the killer mentality, it sounds good, but until we figure out a way to really make it all come together, I think we'll be in the same spot.
They've been to Pittsburgh a lot because of me, and they've been around a bunch of Steelers. It's, even with the different personalities, it's like talking to the same football player all the time. When we talk about what we believed in, how we approach football, like even our conversations now as adult men, you can tell like there's a foundation that made these 100%. Humans tight. But the other part of it is too, bro, winning makes you cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you become tight when you go on Super Bowl runs.
You winning.
Right, and you deal with and get through adversity. And in the thought of adversity, you get your deal, and then there's stories written about you going to therapy for a sexual addiction. And we've had a conversation with Kirk Franklin about this before. And like on our show, we try to sort of give people space to explain things that there are people in their homes going through these things, dealing with these things, and they're too scared to talk about them. They believe they're by themselves. For you, what was that entire ordeal like?
It was crazy because we flew in the night before, PJ, whatever, had my family, my friends, we was all at my house, my old house, whatever, so we cooking. I think my wife was making tacos or whatever, so everybody kind of doing their thing. And I'm like, oh, I gotta give like a speech, like what am I gonna say in my opening presser? So I kind of go off into like my basement or whatever, and I'm just kind of typing out some notes. And my spirit was just like, you can't glorify all these things that you're getting, all the work that you put in without telling them how God delivered you from what you was going through. So for me, it was just like, man, I'm thinking, like as I'm typing and kind of like listening to him talk to me, I'm like, ain't no way I'm about to get up here and just say this like this. And it's like, he said it clear again, just like, you can't really glorify me until you bring this up. And I'm just like, forget it. So I typed it all out. And none of my family knew. I just kind of typed it to myself. So when I went up there and I said it, for the most part, of course, my wife, my now wife, she knew about it or whatever, but everybody else was kind of the first time hearing about it. And I think for me, it was important in my highest moment to talk about my lowest moment. Because, again, if it wasn't for God's work in my life, I wouldn't be where I was or where I got to at that point. Even where I'm at now, it's like, going into that season, my mind was so cluttered, was so cloudy, didn't have the right focus. And I'm just talking to her like, I need help. Like, I need, like, it's not just somewhere. It's like, you know right from wrong. And I always take full accountability for my actions. And I don't want to ever say or put it on somebody, oh, well, my environment was this, or I wasn't taught this. And I used to think like that. And I used to think like, man, I wish I was better molded into being the right man that I was supposed to be, that God called me to be. But for me, I still knew right from wrong. And I feel like I didn't think of the repercussions from it. And I feel like even for me, it was, and starting in high school, it's like trying to just keep up with everybody else and just keep up with the homeboys doing. It's like, okay, yeah, it's all cool, it's fun, it's innocent at the time. But it's like, as you go into college, as you get into relationships, it's like you already done built this badass foundation of where you go seek comfort at. And I think for me, it was just like, after a certain point in time, it's like, I don't even know why the hell I'm doing what the hell I'm doing. Like, or why I'm even thinking the way that I'm thinking. And for me, I'm just like, nah, something got to change. And it's just like over time. And it's like, I know there's plenty of times where God will move through my life and talk to me. And it's like things that I was just in the moment of thinking or doing or whatever, she hit me with the same thing that I'm going through. I'm just like, I know God's really talking and moving through me in that way. And I need to take the step to be who I need to be for him first, and then for her and my family. Because biggest thing that I know, not just with money and status and things like that, but I feel like I'm the first in my family to really be able to change everything. And I wanted to take that on head on. And it was like, no, I need to change for myself. I need to change for my kids, for my wife, for my family, for the trajectory of my family and things like that. So I'm like, let me just put it out there of what I went through in my all-pro year. Was the year I was dealing with that. So I'm like, every off day, I would go in the mornings, drive like 45 minutes away or whatever, go to my sessions, talk to her, and it was like, really wasn't even about the sex part. It was the little kid in me that was more so trying to find himself and was so hurt from things that went on in the family that I was around. And I ended up falling off into that. And it's just like, for me, it's like, let me heal that little boy so this man can be who he needs to be for his family. So that was really what that whole journey was about. But I think it was important for me to speak on that, because I feel like a lot of times, of course, as black men, I feel like we're looked at a certain way. We're looked at in that light. I think even just as men in general, it's one of those things where if you ain't getting none by a certain age, it's like, bro, you uncles where people, hey, bro, you gay? Like, what's wrong? Like, you get that pressure, and it's like one of those things where it's like, you don't really know. But I feel like for me, it's one of those things where it's like, if we only had I won't even say the right men, but if the men that were in our lives were led by the Spirit, were led by God, and groomed us to be who we are called to be, I think the trajectory of our lives would be completely different. So it's like, for me, I know now who I'm truly called to be and how to operate, how to think, how to renew my mind, how to renew my heart in that way, where now it's like, for my kids, I can teach them, or it's like, don't do what daddy did. Don't have those thoughts that daddy had, and how to get through it. And it's not just telling. I think, too, that's a big thing that I feel like I can only speak for black parents and black families, but it's like, don't just tell me not to do something, but tell me the reason why not to do it. And I think for me, I was raised in a church house. I was raised in that environment, and it was just, oh, don't sin, don't have sex before you're married, don't do this. But it's like, I don't know why the hell I'm doing it. I'm going to have no fear to go out and do it. And I think for me, it's like, throughout this journey, throughout my life, even now, it's like, God always has a reason why. He has a why to his boundaries. And it's not because he doesn't want you to do it, but he wants to protect you from certain things. And for me, living outside of those boundaries, I was now open for all the issues that I was dealing with and still am dealing with. And that was one thing where I just really wanted to speak on that, to where other kids that look like me first, and just other kids, other men that are growing up, even young girls, to where it's like, how do you view yourself, and to view yourself in a different way?
RC brought up Kirk Franklin. Well, he had that, bro.
Jay, you've seen the clips before, Jay. Jay, you've seen the clips. I'm with you.
But big homie, like I told him, a porn addiction, you want to beat up your little man, beat up your little man. That's your business.
No doubt.
What's a sex addiction? Because you going to go, bro, like you saying, you going to find something about 14, 15. I had a Toyota Paseo. I grabbed me something in the Toyota Paseo. It was my sister's car. Like, it's a natural progression, and then you gonna keep hitting stuff. Like, I think it's an extreme to saying a sex addiction where we all want to wiggle that worm.
100%.
Like, what's the difference between natural human affection and sex addiction?
Same thing with people who drink. I feel like if you're going through things, your escape is what? You're gonna go drink.
Yeah.
If you're my escape growing up, family trouble, doing whatever I was doing, to go talk to girls, to go do whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was as you doing that as a kid, you're developing yourself to depend on that. So now when you're going from a high school kid into a college kid, you start trying to get into relationships, you already done built yourself up in a way where you're now dependent on that. And you can, and to me, even to the point, it's like, yeah, it's natural for you to have that, but it's natural for you to have that for one woman, not for 100 different women. And I think for me, that was the thing that I didn't grasp until a few years when I started really starting to get help and starting to shift my perspective. But it's like, for me, it's not about, again, just being able, oh, I have this urge and it's just, I'm gonna just go do it. It's like, for me, that's not being able to control yourself and not be able to move according to certain standards or values. I feel like that's where, I feel like that's not where the men lay, to me. And I feel like I had to learn now where it's like, if he just go around and do anything, he ain't really worth shit. To me, it's like, to me, the man who's worth the most is who doesn't just go around doing anything, who has control of himself, who looks at himself a certain way and who has standards and a way of moving. So I feel like, yeah, I felt like it was natural. And of course, the things that I was being fed, oh yeah, bro, just go do da-da-da. And this, you rather go do that. You rather go beat your little man before you go. And it's like, yeah, in a way, it's like, yeah, that may seem better than the other one, but it's like, for your mind, it's not any different. It's like one of those things where it's like you're still feeding into it versus breaking it, and now being able to have that self-control where it's like, nah, I'm not gonna do neither one of those.
I think the thing I love that you said, though, it's the man who chooses not to do it. Because what you do learn is it's not necessarily the sex. You said that earlier. It's like, it's not about the actual action, right? It's the comfort that it gives you. It's the reasons that you go to it. But that also doesn't mean that the man that's choosing not to doesn't have those same thoughts
100%.
or urges.
100%.
Right? It's that he's making the decision to value himself in a different way or value the other people that would be caught up in his thoughts or caught up in his desires. And so I love the fact that you shared it. I love the fact, though, that you shared it in a thoughtful way where it was, hey, no, like, I understand what's going on. I just, at the time, wasn't fixing it. You chose to say, I want to fix it. And I commend you so much for the work you put in, but also, man, I'm finna get paid all this money. I could use that time for anything to boost myself. But the fact that you heeded God's voice, man, I just really respect that about you.
I think that's great, using one of the most, important moments in your life to give back in that capacity. But go back just a few more years before that. Your best friend was murdered, was shot and killed, Kevin Shrubs, and you started the Kevy's Vision Project, right? And that's just to give back to underprivileged youth. So you're using, once again, your platform to look out for those kids. Kind of take us through that and the purpose of the foundation.
Yeah, so of course, coming to the league, you see all the guys that have the foundations and what are you going to support and things like that. I'm just like, I don't really got nothing, really. So when my first year, didn't do really too much. Going into my second year, my best friend was shot and killed back in Fresno. So I'm just like, of course, going through the emotions of it, went back for the funeral and kind of just seeing the hurt. I'm like, how can we change this? Like, where we're at, and it's like, of course, I'm assuming being all from different areas, but living the same lives. It's always the RIP shirts. It's always what you gonna do to get them back. It's always those type of conversations. And it's not how are we gonna use this to help others? How are we gonna use this to impact other people to where we give other people hope? So I think, for me, I ended up calling his mom up one day like, I want to start a foundation and start doing some work out of his name, because he was involved in the community. He had his own clothing brand he was trying to start up. And he would give shirts to the homeless. He would go to the hospital, do things like that. And I still remember to this day, I still have the text of some things that he wanted to do. So I really told his mom, I was like, hey, we got the blueprint. He already said like how he wants to impact the community, how he wants to help the youth and things like that. We should do it in his name. And then we got a group together, a close family friend group. And we really just started figuring out from there. I mean, we didn't have no resources, of course, outside the funds I had. Right. And then from there, we just built it from the ground up from there, and then trying to just really find ways to expand our impact.
You mentioned work, right? Pops, Johnny Jr., they worked. So it made you say, hey, look, I'm gonna work. You read the book Relentless, right? From good to great to unstoppable. My favorite quote in that book is he says, "The price of talk will never go up. It's always free, and you get what you pay for," right? And the reason I thought that was a prophetic saying is he's basically saying, if you never put action to thought or to words, it equals nothing.
Yeah, faith without works is dead.
Faith without works is dead. So for you, it's perfect segue. Good job, TV. How has faith played a part in making you the man you are now? Because you've spoken about spirituality and God so much throughout this sits out.
I think it's, I know it's giving me identity. And I think it's crazy because it's like you think that you know yourself, like you think you know something until you hit a point where it's like, man, I didn't know shit. And I think for me, that was what I was in really. I mean, I'm still finding it. I'm still reading my words, still finding things where it's like, damn, like I still got a long way to go. And it's like, that's the beautiful thing I feel like with having a relationship with God is you don't have to clean up to go to him. You don't have to clean up to hear his voice. I think it's one of those things where all you have to do is commit. All you have to do is believe in a way. But also with that belief, it still takes work. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, well, I read my Bible, but do you turn away from your urges? Oh yeah, well, I'm listening to my sermon, but what are your thoughts? And it's like, one thing I know is like reading the word and listening to sermons, it's like, you're in control of your thoughts. You're in control of your heart posture in this way. And I think even for me, like my prayers, I always say, God, search my mind, search my heart, renew my mind, renew my heart, because one day I could be in a slump where my thoughts aren't right or my heart's not right. And it's like, nah, renew my mind to where I can now recommit to you. I can now recommit what you called me to. And I even got this bracelet. I freaking made it on Amazon. It says, you control you. And for me, it's like a reminder where it's like, no matter what's going on around me, I control my thoughts. Like I control how I react to things. No matter who says what to me, who does what to me, I'm in control, because honestly, I don't answer to you. I don't answer to you. I don't answer to her or my wife before I answer to God. And it's like one of those things where that's the biggest thing I'm trying to change in my family, my immediate family, as far as reacting. And one thing I just learned too is there's a difference between reacting and responding. And in that is reaction comes from your flesh and you just do it because your flesh has to do it. But responding, you're filled with the Holy Spirit and you already have your response to it. And really just when God was tempted after he got saved or baptized, he was tempted by the devil, he had responses. Anytime the devil tried to tempt him with something, he had a response with God's word. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like trying to move like he moved. And of course, I'm never going to be perfect in that way. As we know as athletes, coaches coach you for perfection, but you never reach it. It's the same thing in your walk with Christ where I don't have to be perfect. I don't need to try to be perfect per se. I just need to be better. I just need to work at whatever it is that I'm deficient in. And again, your problems aren't my problems aren't your problems aren't his problem. But one thing we can meet in the middle in is we all got problems and we all got things that we go through. And to me, God is always going to be at the center of it. Now, who removes themselves from that center, that's on him. But I feel like for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to stop just having a foot in that middle. It's like, let me kind of sit up, let me get all the way in there, because I know with that commitment, yeah, there's always going to be hard things. It's not going to make me exempt from hardships, but I definitely know that he can guide me and lead me through whatever it is.
You're talking that stuff, dog. I'm not, you are. Yeah, you're talking.
And I love how you did that. When you dove into it, when you didn't just put your foot in the faith, did your circle change? Because I think that's hard for a lot of young players. Y'all are young people, but players for sure.
Yes, with my faith, but I would also say just with the steps of my life. And for me, it was hard because I pray prayers sometimes where I don't necessarily understand what will come from it. And I know at times it's like, God, bring the right people in my life, remove the wrong people from my life. And it's like, you don't really know until you see people that you was close with that you no longer talk to. And it's like, there's no true rhyme or reason. There was no big fallout. It's just, we just slowly drifted away. And it's like, it still hurts in a way where it's like, dang, I was always cool with them. Like, oh, I was like, it was always love. But it's like, as I said earlier, it's like God sees something that I don't see. And maybe our time has just come. And it's one of those things where it's like, with the faith, you can't move and hang out with the same people naturally because of their environments that you're trying to protect yourself from. But even with money, even with status, even with progression, everybody truly can't go and aren't meant to go. Quite honestly, it's not anything to anybody else as far as them being beneath me or anything like that. I think everybody's paths just eventually go this way, whether it's through life or whether it's through death. At some point, we gonna end up separating. But I think for me, it was just always understanding that, like, and for me, it had to happen where it's like, dang, that hurts. And it's like, even to this day, I'll think like, man, I should not happen for a reason. And you kind of just stay, I'm just trying to stay where I'm at.
Hey, Jay, looking back on it all, what would you consider your biggest pivot in life? That's that moment you can dial in on and say, because this happened for me or to me, I am who I am today.
I would say going back, I'll give a few. I would say going back, I would say my parents' divorce, I would say would probably be one. I think in that moment, and not even in that moment, during that time of, I feel like separation was a time where I had to find that inner strength. And I know my dad, he's big on mental strength. He has 1,000 quotes and all those things. But I think for me, I was able to live that out as far as like, you got to do what you have to do until you can get what you want to get or until you can do what you want to do. And for me, I was in a situation where it's like, I don't want to be here. Or I want things to be whatever, but I still have to continue to be strong. I still have to continue to go to school, good grades. I still have to continue to put in the work. And even though I'm hurting inside, I still got to show up. And I think for me, that's part of life. I mean, no matter what goes on, you still got to be able to show up. I would say that. I would say the realization that I needed more help. I would say that changed a lot of things for me. I would say having my youngest daughter recently, she changed some things for me as well. I know me and her mom, my wife, we went through some adversity with her and during her. And it was one of those things where it wasn't looking too bright, but she ended up pushing through. Came out 9 pounds for 4 ounces and healthy, hasn't been sick a day in her life. She's nothing but a ball of joy. And I think for me, being able to exercise my faith in that way where it's like, nah, God has something different for her, regardless of what anybody else is saying. Seeing how she wakes up truly like, yeah, it's my daughter, but it's like knowing where she came from and what was said about her and where things were going. It's like, nah, between her and her mom showing that strength as well, being able to continue to push. And it's funny, I can laugh about it now, but just during that whole time, it was like, I'm thinking like, man, we doing too much, babe. It's like, it's doing too much, but it's like, for her, it's like, nah, we ain't doing enough. Like, it was a certain level of commitment and a certain level of protection that I've seen from her and from my daughter, where it's like, I can never take really life for granted. Yeah, my homeboy passed, but it's like, when you have your daughter in that situation and you have your wife where it's like, it could have went either way and you starting to see it, it's like, nah, I have to show up in a different way. I have to lead this family that I was blessed with. That it could have, I mean, from everything that I've done, from everything that could have just went another direction, it was a wake-up call for me where it's like, nah, I'm called to be exactly where I'm at with the people I have.
All right, so before we leave, man, got to do this because it's football season.
Let's do it.
All right, so what are the matchups you circle? Right, see, I played safety, so I always looking at running backs. I was like, who gonna break through this hole?
I gotta go hit.
Who I gotta go tackle? You got the Lions this week. Do we circle that game or no? You just go out there and play?
I'm gonna circle it because the team. I wouldn't say it necessarily from a one-on-one standpoint.
Wow. Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb for sure. Well, now both of them. CeeDee Lamb, George.
CeeDee Lamb, George. We're gonna skip the Raiders. Commanders.
I'll say so. The team. I'll say more so the team.
Ravens.
The team.
Bengals.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, for sure.
New York.
Yeah, I like Malik. Yeah, I like Malik.
Does it matter who playing quarterback?
Nah.
They jump every route. They ain't throwing deep.
Yeah, I was about to say, nah. It changed how I play, but it don't change my mindset.
All right, we got Vikings.
For always.
Steelers.
Yeah, DK.
Eagles.
Hell yeah. AJ.
Packers.
Team.
Team.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, to me, I feel like it's different. Like, Amon-Ra is a heck of a talent, but I think for me, it's more, I feel like it's more of a game plan, more of a scheme where it's like we have to go in and try to take away certain things. I wouldn't say it's just one of, I mean, of course, when they get down, they go into him. Yeah. But with him being inside, too, it's a lot hard for me because I don't go inside and do all that. So I think even with J-Mo, I feel like he's young, he's emerging, working on his game. But I think for the Lions, it's definitely more of a scheme thing. You got to take care of the run and then stop the shots and then get Amon-Ra on third down. So I think it's kind of simple in that way. Even with Washington, Scary Terry's a heck of a dude. Played against him a few times throughout my career. But I feel like now with the system that they got, you got to be able to take away everything. I feel like it's not, for sure. I think Scary for 1 week can go for 200, next week can go for 20. So it's like, you never know. It all depends on the flow of the game.
You said Bengals, though. You said,
Yeah, Jamar Chase like that. Justin's like that. I was excited for Amari Cooper to go to the Raiders. I love his game.
What do you think has been the hardest, like, singular matchup on an individual? What do you think is the most difficult one in the league right now?
Right now, I would say Devontae. I know when I matched up against him my second year, that was probably the most uncomfortable I feel like I've somewhat like felt going against somebody where it's like I was damn near meditating on like his releases for hours, like just going through the house trying to find his rhythm, trying to find what he does. I would probably say that back then. I haven't played him recently, and I played him at the Raiders. It was a shit show over there. But I would say now, I'd definitely say Justin because I play him the most. I see him the most. I'm looking forward to Chase because I feel like it's not nothing that wows you, I would say, as far as like route running and things like that. But he's a dog. And I feel like for me, it's him and AJ, I feel like that. Like it's nothing crazy as far as the routes, but you got to strap up. You got to come correct. You got to go in there with the right mentality. So I definitely love those matchups.
Yeah, well, man, listen, I'm honestly, bro, I didn't know what to expect from the entire thing. You know, me and you texted a little bit. I got to meet you in person, you know, earlier this year. But man, this was really amazing. And like when I think of our show as a whole, like this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're supposed to be able to talk about sports, but speak about real life, speak life into people. And I really feel like you did that, man. And for a young man, like that is a very difficult thing to master, bro. So I appreciate you.
No doubt. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, that joint was great, man.
Old soul is what they call it.
That joint was great. Hey,
Old soul.
yeah, that was good, man. That was really good.
Big dog, that's up.
And you heard her? She goes, that was really good. I don't like anything. That's about